evening. We'll get started and appreciate everybody coming out. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. And then we have recognition of the public for items on the agenda. Again, this is a little smaller session, but same rules apply, and there'll be a so we'll do 5 minutes for comment period. And Gayla, is this for this one? Okay.
Hi.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alan Cat, Harold Township. So the candidates, thank you for your willingness to come out and try to fill this vacant seats. I have never served on the school board, but I have served in leadership in other ways. I can tell you it's hard, it's challenging, but it can be rewarding. There are 8 other people on this board. You're not working alone, even though sometimes leadership can feel lonely. Also, please know that sometimes in leadership, making decisions will force you to recognize that the right decision or the best decision, in this case for students, teachers, community, may not necessarily match your biases, your preferences, or even your instinct. You've got 8 other people to rely on. You've got a great administrative team to rely on. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much. All right, so at this time, if there's no one else, all right, we'll start with the interviews of the candidates for Region 3 School Board Director vacancy. And I'll just read the process here. So it's going to be done in a panel format. This format, all candidates will be seated and the board will ask the same question to each candidate in turn. Each question will first be answered by a different candidate on a rotating basis. This process will continue through the series of questions, providing each candidate the opportunity to be the first to respond to a question. There will be a 2-minute time limit for each candidate to answer each question. We as the board members will take notes and score candidates' response on our grouping. So, does anybody want to volunteer to go first? So, all right. So what we'll do is we'll start with if you just want to take first 2 minutes and introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the questioning after that. So.
Hello, I'm Deborah Ross from Dillsburg, longtime resident, and I'm willing to serve if you.
My name is Renee Bordelay. I am a current resident of Franklin Township. I've lived here for 11 years. I am in East Shore, born and raised. I grew up over there and I love it over here. I moved over here with my husband, who is a Northern alumni. My eldest daughter is an alumni from Northern. I have 2 kiddos coming up. One will be starting kindergarten next year, and then my daughter will be starting kindergarten in 2 years. I am a school bus driver for our district, and I have been for about 10 years now. So I talk to the kids every day, and I love to hear what's going on, and wanted to kind of see maybe if I can help with the district also.
So what do I need to say?
Deborah, since you went first, we'll start with Nate for the first question for you. So first one, why are you interested in serving on this?
I am excited to be a part of the district in a different way than what I am currently. And just seeing where my taxpayer dollars are going, and after having my eldest daughter go through school and not really seeing the day-to-day stuff, we're being so busy not knowing the behind-the-scenes stuff, seeing my youngest children coming up through and talking to somebody else, the kids that were on my buses and stuff, and I just kind of want to try to make a difference and listen to them, so.
You have the same question, why are you, what's that?
You're gonna, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna repeat it again.
Yeah, no, that's right. Why are you interested in serving on the school board?
I am interested in serving on the school board because I hear people say, if you want to change the country, the state, the nation, you need to get involved locally. And when this position opened up, I thought, that's what I can do. That's what I would like to do. I have 6 nephews in the school district right now, and I want to make a difference for them.
So, our next question. Name a primary responsibility of a school board member, and how would you execute that responsibility?
I wouldn't pick a primary, I wouldn't pick a primary, okay, you want me to just pick one that I think is primary? Okay, I know you, I know you have to, select a budget for the buildings, that you work with the teachers, and it's supposed to be pretty primary. I would, okay, I know you delegate, authority to the superintendent to take necessary actions, when circumstances are not provided. I'm having trouble picking a primary.
Which one you think is important to you?
Well, the one that's important to me is the children's curriculum, what they're studying.
Good.
That would be what's important to me.
I guess the follow-up or second part of that is, how would you execute that responsibility?
I would talk with the teachers, see what they recommend since they're dealing with the students.
So Renee, same question. Name a primary responsibility of a school board member, and how would you execute that responsibility?
Listen to the constituents of the community, and sharing their views with the board, to be their voice. It's huge, as the school board, you speak for the community and help make those decisions.
Third question, to you, Renee. What is your experience with budget development, and how would you determine budget priorities?
Well, as most adults, we need to maintain a budget in our own households, to be able to survive and live and keep our heads above water. So, it's the same type of principles. You can't be overspending if there's no money to spend. It doesn't work. And as far as keeping it in check, I've owned my own business, so it's very important that that doesn't flounder, so I have that experience as well. Yeah, sorry, I just kind of rambled there for one minute. One thoughts. It's essentially just being able to maintain and look between black and red and seeing what's being spent and
question, what is your experience with budget development and how would you determine budget priorities?
Like Renee, I have, I budgeted my own household. When I worked at, Warfield Communications, we worked a little bit with it. But basically, I would get somebody, I would recruit somebody that knows more than I do.
One more question, Deborah. Identify 2 key issues currently facing the district.
Key issues, I know one was the last board meeting I was at, they were talking about the books for the children. And then I know you're having a meeting for the school buildings.
Renee, same question. Identify 2 key issues currently facing the district.
Same as Deborah also, as well, I'm sure everyone in the district, the construction complications as far as choosing the bids and the plans and deciding what needs to be done. Side part of that also is the construction for our sports fields, our transportation department in and out of our complex. And then the second one is staff shortages, seeing that largely that there's always hiring, which is happening across everywhere, but our teachers are the most important to help educate our children. That's their job. So if we don't have enough of them and enough aides, our children aren't get the best education that they can get.
And last question, Renee, we're going to start with you. What can be done to improve student achievement and ensure that every student is prepared for what they want to do in the future, be it college, trade school, or work?
Again, along with the staffing shortages, having great staff, having amazing teachers. You always hear stories. I'm sure each and every single one of you has had a teacher that they can remember from growing up that made an impact on their lives. And I think that that's the most important, and to help align our curriculum with the values that our district wants and needs.
Deborah, same question. What can be done to improve student achievement and ensure that every student is prepared for what they want to do in the future, be it college, trade school, or work?
Well, I would suggest doing what I did for my son. He couldn't decide what he wanted to do, and I had him take a Crown financial aptitude test. It showed that he was mechanical, so he decided to take VOTEC. So I would suggest that everybody has a bent, what they're good at, and if they can find that out early, it would help them. Because I know I went through college prep and then ended up doing business, not college prep, so, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
So I'll open it up. Any members want to ask either candidate a question?
I'll ask one question, and I guess I start with Deborah. Did you file for an open vacancy? Are you gonna be on the ballot in the spring? Or do you plan on having a write-in campaign for yourself? Because the seat is open until the next election.
Yes, I'm very well aware of that, and that's why I thought I'll put my foot in for 8 months and then I'll decide.
Thank you. Renee?
Yes, and I am on the ballot for the upcoming primaries. Rushing back.
Any other questions? Thank you both for taking the time and coming out here.
Now you know why.
We still want that.
I mean, my opinion is, I think the fact that Renee's on the ballot, it's, I think that's still, just give me, give me 8 months. That's kind of a given, there's gonna be change there. If that's on the ballot yet, so I would be inclined to go for that.
No, I think it helps clarify things because she definitely has a path to being elected member. And unfortunately, just because of time, Deborah doesn't have that giant backbone member as well. So it would make it harder for her to serve for 8 months and then transition to potentially Renee. So
So we'll start with the selection and do a roll call votes. You want to just give us
I'll make a motion to nominate Renee Borman to fill the vacancy on Region 3.
I'll second.
discussion? All right. Ms. Moore?
Mr. Becker? Mr. Gunn?
Yes.
Mr. Blackie?
Yes.
Mr. Kyle?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Stove?
Yes.
Mr. Weir?
Yes.
And with that, is there any recognition of the public for items not on the agenda? All right. Can I get an adjournment?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Well, just, oh, go ahead. That was me, but go ahead. Please.
I was just gonna thank both candidates for volunteering to do this, because this is not easy. So, thank you for stepping up, on behalf of the community, so thank you very much to both.
Thank you.
Yeah, Greg. Our next session is coming up here at 6:30, and would encourage anyone, including our nominee that was selected and the one that wasn't, to stick around. But it may be really advantageous if at all possible for you to stick around. One of the big items on the agenda tonight is the bids that come in from the North Middle School. And you'll be seated next week and be voting, I would imagine, on that very thing. So the more you can absorb, the better. The other thing, so that's the immediate future. We'd also like to connect with you on a morning, if at all possible, Thursday or Friday this week, and talk about it, that we've set aside for, based on your availability, to do some orientation.
Yeah, Thursday mornings after bus runs and stuff, that's good.
Okay. All right.
And again, just thank you both for coming out and sitting in front of us. We're not the best looking crowd around, so probably wasn't any easier that way, but, yeah. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
I would just ask for board members too, please take your packets and give them to Maureen.
This is Sam.
It's a
I'll
close
close the
matter, but
This was just a special meeting, yeah.
Several of our board members have been here a while, and maybe here late tonight, so we do have food set aside. Marina's got some food. If you haven't had a chance yet, this will be a great time between the two meetings. Grab some food back in the back. So, since we're taking you away from dinner tonight.
So can you ask Jonathan and ask him that the next meeting doesn't start till 10 minutes, if he wants me to leave, or if he just wants to, because he's still sick.
Yes.
I never had dinner, so.
Reduces the minutes.
I give you props for just sitting there.
He heard you not money.
and so Landon has. So I just really thought he's in good shape. So my thought is if I can go get good superintendent, good things, and then hand off. Landon's got 2 years left of sports, and he's going to college. And just for so much time. President, like, I want to make sure it's all good. Missing the last 2 years. And if something comes up, I want to be able to like jump all in. And I know that I can do that as well. So maybe, yeah, and I didn't want to just not big deal. So I was like, we'll just let it go by. I mean, if no one noticed, that'd be easy, but I'm still going to ball and come in and tell me they messed up. I will jump back in and I will go ball in again. So, but yeah, we picked it around for 3 weeks. So, as sad as I am, it's a good coach. It's just one of those things. So you should jump in.
I was thinking about it, but in like 5 years, I've got something going on.
That makes it tough. And at that point, you'd have this call, you'd have to do well as well. So it would either be the one or the other two there. So he might be just for that point, so just step in, opportunity. And that's why I never really considered my songs like what was going on, and I was like, I think I should do better than that. But I was the same way. Like, I never like I was good or against the keeper. It's like you're just it's a good move for a good vote, and you're just wasting time. Like just let him go, and if the opportunity shows up, great.
Yeah.
See what happens. Finish out the next 8 months and just cruise it. It's tough. One of those things. Like I got to make sure he knows I value his time.
Okay. Yeah.
Next phase.
Thank you. I appreciate the time and interest. Stay interested. Oh, well, okay, all right. Maybe this time, but maybe there's be a next time. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you very, very much.
You know, likes to kind of
Yes, I know. Well, I know the Charlotte. Yeah.
connect.
I know. I heard you didn't even get to see Charlotte until she was Yeah, great weekend.
Yeah, what's the website?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't have my
She's got all that. Yeah. Now you can
my phone's being used right now to look at the exact. It's like, oh, I need to get on this. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh my gosh. No, well, I would have had to do it anyway. Yes, they told me it was a state law. If you are filling in a vacancy, you are interviewing. I learned as well. Thank you. No, it's nerve-wracking. Yep, I talked to my husband and he said, I don't even know why you're asking me because you're going to do what you want to. I was like, okay. He said, the kids aren't going to the playground and going to have some fun. I said, good. I'm going to go to heart attack and throw up while all this happens. I just
Very much. I appreciate that. I had it up really high. Sorry. Oh my gosh, no. I'm probably red as a lobster. I feel my biscuit next. No, but it's all good. Too. I know. I can feel your, the nervousness. It's hard. It doesn't matter what you've done. I can analyze myself. I'm better than one. Yes, so am I. Yes. Anyway, yes, my grandmother went to, when she was in college, she's like 45 years ago, she's like, they would tell her Republicans I said, I literally cannot do that. That would make it so much worse. No. That will make it so much worse. I could suffer through it. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I don't know the stuff that is. This is just mine. This is ours. I don't know about that. Oh, yeah. No, that one has this over here. And this is the one. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So then I is today? Yeah. Yeah. So all the discussions. Yeah.
But yeah, that one I think is for sure.
The back.
Oh, okay.
We're a few minutes late, but we heard the whole interview.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Next round, find my student.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, that's how, and we are involved in a third group and
All right, here we go, round two. For those of you that are just coming in, we'll get started. Oh, okay. Sorry, Steve. We'll start without you. No, you're good. That's my fault. You're on the spot, so you're up with curriculum.
Thank you, Scott. We have 5 simulated conferences on the agenda, and a couple local day conferences. They're all listed, and so for any questions or thoughts about those, there's also a guidance plan to talk about, the guidance plan to approve for next meeting. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
still there? Matt Labuda? Matt Labuda, you still there? Matt is not there.
I thought he was only part of the first part.
There's a guidance plan to, if Matt were here, he would tell us about it. And then the last thing is the
Sorry, I do have a question about the guidance plan. Something's just coming in a little bit better.
So the guidance.
Hey guys, are you? Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, you're right on time. Talk about, Mr. Weir asked about the guidance plan. Anything specific, Mr. Weir? or
Yeah,
Just a general overview?
Yeah, just a general overview.
An overview.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, Maureen, if you can click on the attachment, letter C, please. Let me know when that's up on the screens.
It's, you say letter C? Oh, yes, go ahead. It's up. Cover page.
So it's up? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you can scroll down to the second page. So I'll start with the overview, and then we can get into a little bit more of the details. And once again, you guys can hear me okay, correct? Yeah. Thank you for setting this up, Mr. Sullivan. So Chapter 339 of the Pennsylvania statutes, Title 22, requires any school district that sends students to a PDE-approved career and technical school. Those districts must have a PDE-approved K-12 guidance plan. So we obviously send students to the Cumberland Perry Career Technical Center. Therefore, we fall under that umbrella of needing to have a K-12 guidance plan. There are many other reasons we should have a K-12 guidance plan, but that is the school code, I should say this title, the statute, Pennsylvania statute 22, chapter 339. Maureen, no need to click on that, but if anybody wanted to read the actual language, you're welcome to click on that link. It's pretty dry, it's just school code rule language, but that's there. And so what's not in code is how often. And so PDE recommends that the board approve every 5 years. But PDE also requires that the K-12 guidance plan be submitted to PDE through the Future Ready Comprehensive Planning Portal every 3 years. I've asked for rationale for the incongruencies there, why 5 and 3. As you can see on the cover page of this document, this was approved February of 2025. And so, in speaking with our school counseling team, we thought it would make most sense every 3 years when we're submitting this to PDE through the FRCPP that we bring it to the board for approval. Even though it says every 5 years. And so, if the board is okay with every 3 years, that just seems to make the most sense since we're updating it and submitting it to PDE. Any questions on the overview section? I'll take that as no. And then the one, so there's 3 links on there. You don't need to click on the Title 22. The Future Ready Comp Planning Portal, I wouldn't click on that, Maureen, now, but for board members, if you wanted to click on that, I just wanted to give you an idea of what the document looks like that we submit to PDE, actually what it looks like when you export it from PDE's portal. It's not a very nice looking document. I don't think it's really worth spending much time on, but I did put that link there so you see the questions that are asked of us and then how we respond. But the reality is most of what we submit to PDE are attachments in the Future Ready Comprehensive Planning Portal, and they don't come when you export it. So none of the attachments are going to be in there. But what I would like Maureen to do is I want to show you the meat and potatoes, the details of our guidance plan. So if Maureen can click on the NYCSD website link.
Like over there.
And Maureen, did that take you to the district webpage, the curriculum tab, K through 12 counseling services?
Yes.
Yes.
Maureen? Yes. Okay, so Maureen, if you could just click on that document, and it should open a 29-page comprehensive K through 12 guidance plan. So this would be the document that I would say if you wanted more information behind the scenes on what our school counseling team does, I would go to our website, go to the curriculum tab, choose K through 12 guidance curriculum, and I would open up this document. Since Maureen has it open, there's 13 sections. Many of them are prescriptive from the state. We need to have those, but you'll see the different sections, the role of the counselor. You'll see we need to add in there the different descriptions of what the counselors do, job description wise. As Maureen scrolls down through that, section 4, you'll see the mission statement on page 8. The calendars, which is important. The state wants to see how much time our counselors are spending in each of the buckets for which they're responsible. So there's a color-coded calendar there, pages 8 through maybe 15-ish. And then we start getting into some of the strands and career clusters for each level. And I'm already down to page 18, Maureen, section 7. So
Just to go a little faster.
just like any other subject or topic, there is specific curriculum for school counselors. And so this section 7 on page 18 of this plan, we literally have the standards, the career awareness and preparation standards there. And those are the ones that we have to make sure that we are teaching students. And I have in there that we use Smart Futures as one of the ways that we do that. It's a software program which is aligned to the standards and takes students through various activities so that they're doing that. And so there's goals in there, and there's all different types of information in there. So I think that probably gives you maybe a little bit of a flavor of what's in our actual 339 plan. And like I said, what happens is we take pages from this and post it in the FRCPP for the state, and this is where the information basically comes from. So this is the seminal document that if you wanted to spend some time looking at, that would be what I suggest. So before we click out of that and go back to the summary document that we originally had up, are there any thoughts or questions on the actual 339 plan that's on the website?
Looks like no, Matt.
Okay, so Maureen, if you can open back up the summary document I prepared. We went through the overview. So I first want to thank the school counseling team in general helped build that 339 plan, but specifically Amber, Mark, and Heather spent many hours with me in the conference room building and meeting, dotting the I's and crossing the T's for state approval. So I do want to thank our steering committee for their help, but all counselors had a role in that. And then some other summary things I put in here from the 339 plan we just looked at is the mission statement, basically to help all students academically, socially, emotionally, and career-wise. There's a paragraph there on structure. As most of you know, we have 11 total school counselors. We're very blessed. We have 4 at the high school, 1 per grade level, 3 at the middle school, 1 per grade level. At our December advisory council, we're required to have a community advisory council for the school counselors. The middle school parents were very, very happy with being able to have 3 counselors so that now their student can latch on to the same counselor for all 3 years and loop through, just like at the high school. So that's our structure there. And then we now have 1 in every elementary school. It wasn't that long ago that we had 2 between the 4 schools, or among the 4 schools. Sorry about that. So a little bit about the provision of services. The counselors design and deliver the curriculum that we're required to kind of give you some of the ideas. The curriculum piece, most of that is facilitated through large group, small group, and guidance lessons at the elementary school. Our elementary counselors, I know push-in sounds a little rough, but they collaborate with the regular classroom teacher, and they go into the regular classroom and they teach their guidance curriculum, their guidance lessons to every class once a month. So what does that mean? That means if I'm at Wellsville Elementary School and I'm the counselor and we're 2 deep at every grade level, so we have 12 total classes, then I'm teaching 12 lessons per month, right? If I'm at Galesburg and we're almost 4 deep at every school and there's 6 grade levels, I might be teaching 23 or 24 lessons every month. And so that's how most of that gets covered through individual planning time. There's some evaluation pieces there I have after that in terms of the district advisory council, and then there is a piece of the Future Ready Index that we're graded on as a district. The counselors play a role in the career artifact part of that, and then I just have some closing remarks. So that's our summary document of the guidance plan. The 339 plan's on the website. And like I said, it needs board approval. Some say 3 years, some say 5 years. And so we're asking that the board approve the bulk plan at next week's meeting. And if you need more time than that, we can do it the following month. Thank you.
I had a question. Matt?
Yes.
Does this cover all counseling done within the agency of the school district? I mean, are there counseling, other types of counseling on premise that this does not cover?
Yeah, so we have an agreement with Pennsylvania Behavioral Health, PCPH, to do school-based counseling. So that is something separate. That's when an organization works with the parents. If a student is in need of individual one-on-one counseling above and beyond what a school counselor might provide, the parents and that agency work together, and typically they like to have that done at school because they may have a hard time getting the child to the counseling, so on and so forth. So we have that service, which is outside of our school counseling plan. And then we have a few other services through Care Solace, who helps connect parents to providers based on their needs. We have MHIDD, mental health and intellectual disabilities, that helps service our student assistance teams. Once again, if a student is referred for either drug and alcohol or mental health issues, we have True North that we contract with, and they help meet and screen the students, so on and so forth. So there are other services, Steve, outside of what our school counselors do that we offer.
Okay. I noticed in the some of the write-up that the stakeholders, teachers, course counselors, and others, some teachers are involved in the district advisory committee, if I understood the terminology right. Would there be, I'm just wondering if the board needs to know maybe a little more about some of the tough things that kids are going through. I heard a podcast recently, American children, school-age children, ranked 62nd in happiness, or whatever that could be categorized, and even beyond, behind Ukraine and Israel war-torn areas, and maybe there's a reason for us to better understand some of that. whether it's unhappiness, whether it's some other dysfunction, whether it's family. So maybe one thought I had was, would it make sense for a board member to be a part of your district committee to just be in touch with the street when it comes to what the kids are going through, what they're experiencing. Maybe our kids are way above that. But I wonder if we can learn something if we had someone there.
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. And yes, in the past, we have had a board member serve on that committee. Sometimes that board member is also a parent, so on and so forth. So absolutely, that district advisory council is integral because we're meeting with different stakeholder groups. There's students, there's parents, there's educators, administrators, there's business and community members, there's post-secondary institutions, local ones, Messiah, Dickinson, there's military, and yes, board members. In the past, there's been representation on that, and and essentially there are connections. We basically utilize that committee to see how we're doing and what needs are out there that they're seeing that we're not meeting. So that's one of the primary purposes of the district advisory committee is for us to get in touch with our community and find out, okay, well, mental health issues, anxiety, whatever it is, or college readiness. I don't feel that there's enough time spent with the students on everything there is to know about college, or we need more touches with the military. And so, yeah, that committee is a very important committee. It's a required committee that it meets. We met in December of 2024, so not too long ago. And a board member is more than welcome to serve on that committee, Steve.
Yeah, I think it might give us more understanding of what, my time zone is different than their time zone. So I think it might help if we're in touch with it and feel it a little bit ourselves. So that's why.
Thanks, Steve. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labuda.
Dr. Nathan, you want to do the assistant superintendent's report?
Thanks, Mr. Becker. I'll have some comments on some later items, so in the interest of time, I'll forego providing a report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And building and grounds, Mr. Jones.
Yes, Mr. President, you'll see we have 3 facility use requests that will be coming up on the agenda for use of, looks like our athletic facilities for youth softball, youth football, as requests for both Boston and then for their typical southbound practice area. Any questions from anyone on any of those? Okay, and then we had an attachment that was sent over, I guess, yesterday for a building and grounds report. I think I saw Matt, do you want to take the one or Jason?
I'll turn it over to Matt here in a second. So, first item, pull that up. Morning, show extension. One follow-up item real quick. Gunning about a few items, and I will get the full spreadsheet sent out to the entire board. I just wanted to talk about it first so you know what we're looking at. But we did go back over the entire list of fields, and we show on the report whether it's an existing condition for the field or if it's a new condition for the field, so that you know where that new monies that Matt talked about last meeting are. I sent you an email. Yeah. So the second slide just has just a portion of what will get you the report that we had shown you last meeting, and you'll see there. Obviously, I just showed the baseball field. There are items that are under the existing conditions and items that we're looking to add for the field maintenance. So again, you'll get that whole spreadsheet. I'll send that out to you all tomorrow. Just wanted to follow up on that and a couple other items that Mr. Gunning had asked about. So we'll make sure we get all of that information to the board. Tonight really was a conversation about preventative maintenance and what we are currently doing. So I'll let Mr. Johnson take over.
Thanks, Jason. Just one other thing on that spreadsheet. I think it would be important to add a column for as needed, because there are times where we do some things to a certain field that wouldn't typically get done. So if that's okay with you, just add in that column. As far as preventative maintenance update, we talked about it a little bit at the last meeting. Walton and Company continues to do the district HVAC units located on the roof and exterior of the buildings. We've been happy with them. I have no concerns at this time with them. McClure will continue to maintain the district boilers. Again, no concerns. It's been really good to add those two things. And then the next two bullets are field maintenance program, which we've talked about, and that's the proposal's attached, I believe, in some way or another, hopefully for March approval.
That's what I'm getting. Yeah, we'll get them out for March.
And that obviously is directly related to the last thing. And then the roofing maintenance program, possibly going after in 26, 27. To protect basically our new roofs, we've got 4 new roofs around the district, and I think it would be important to be able to identify any issues on the roof before we get to a point where it's caused other damage. And I would be looking at a semi-annual roofing maintenance program, depending on costs for that. But it might be worth it for essentially just to be able to identify concerns before they actually become a real issue. I've been talking with Halk about it, and they're also going to be surveying Wellsville Elementary's roof and the high school roof this spring to let us know the condition, because we know we're getting closer to end of life on most of Wellsville's roof and probably all of the high school's roof. So if there's any specific details anybody wants, once I get them for the roofing maintenance program, kind of like the field maintenance program, I'll certainly share those and we can review them at a meeting as well. But that's what I have for preventative maintenance update right now, in case, unless anyone has something more they would like to see come from preventative maintenance.
Just a quick question. Are all the HVAC units in the district covered as far as that maintenance program?
All exterior HVAC units are covered, and cooling towers. So anything related to heating and air conditioning, ventilation that's exterior of the buildings is covered under our current plan.
What about interior?
Interior is all district. Maintenance and custodians do the preventative maintenance.
Going back to the roof, that preventative maintenance on the roof, is how to do that, like, is that kind of a normal thing? I'm just wondering
It is.
how easy it is to kind of detect issues ahead, you know what I mean, like, until it's leaking.
It is a thing. They actually have an entire department that does just maintenance of roofs and service. It's maintenance and service. They see these roofs all the time. They put them in. They know what to look for. I mean, another thing would be wrinkles. If the wrinkles are getting worse, or possible, water infiltration that maybe you don't know where it's coming from yet. So it's not something that we're like, oh man, what else can we do? It's, hey, this is available type of thing. Other places are doing it. Could this benefit us in some way? The roofs that we're having put on are 30-year warranty roofs. They're great roofs. I'm so happy that we're able to do it. But I'm just thinking about preserving that warranty in the roofs as long as possible without having.
Yeah, it's just detectable ahead of time,
Right.
obviously.
That was it for tonight. The attachment that Matt was talking about was from, remind me of the name. I want to say Halk, because we use Halk so much, but the athletic field.
Hummer.
Thank you. It was an H. I'll get that to the board. We would like to have that on for this month. It wasn't attached to this presentation. But that is that athletic field was what Matt had talked about in terms of implementing those new pieces to the athletic field. So there's a contract that we have to get that approved. So I'll get that to the board here tomorrow as well. And we would ask that that get approved so we can start in on that here this spring. Next month, we'll be looking closer at long-term planning. It's kind of the third piece the board had requested we present upon. So that kind of long-term capital maintenance piece is going to be really high school driven because we've, well, possibly middle school driven, but at least high school driven because we really addressed a lot of the other issues at our elementary schools with the first $10 million bond that we took out. And that second maintenance bond would be mostly for the high school. So just you're prepared. You're going to see a lot of high school stuff on that presentation. I think that's it.
Just a question, Matt, did you, any changes or additions on the greenhouse project, and did you receive the results of the minutes of the meeting of the Ag Advisory Committee?
I did get I did get that today. Megan sent it out today. Changes. We looked over the entire greenhouse yesterday. It was Dr. Meakin, Mr. Young, myself, Megan, Troy, Steve. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not, but we were in that space yesterday with any additional concerns aside from the punch list that was created. And the punch list is, they're working on it, daily. Even tonight, before I came in here, I was talking to them. They were over there tonight. Changes. The vent motors, I know, was an issue, a big issue, with them tripping out on thermal overload. So they have a meeting on Thursday morning with, I'll say, a specialist, a control specialist, that'll hopefully be able to identify why the control system isn't talking nicely to the vent motors and resolve that issue. Because right now that's making the space unusable for them. But hopefully after Thursday, they'll resolve that. I did get a date on the window caulking, which is March 31st. I believe it's the 31st through the 2nd or 3rd of April. That's new. That just came out today, I think. Other than that, I don't know that there's too much more new in this space. So, and that'll be updated too. Megan and Ms. Myers and Lobar and I have been talking kind of, together and then individually, and at some point that'll all come out and be in the report too.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just to follow up on that, the checklist that was on the attachment that was sent out yesterday, that update was based upon the meeting that Matt just talked about. So that was accurate as of our meeting with the Ag Department, the high school, not myself, Dr. Meakin, as of yesterday. So that, other than the 2 items that Matt just updated you on within the last 24 hours, that is correct to all of our team.
Budget and Finance, Mr. Ruby.
There, also discussion tonight.
So as I said, we had our bid opening on Friday. I did send those results to the school board as well on Friday, a few hours after we had received them. Also followed up yesterday just as hopefully a reminder as to some of what the alterations were that we talked about several months ago. So just want to lay the groundwork here real quick. I know we have quite a few public here tonight, which is great. We had an Act 34 hearing in October 2023 where the board approved that budget. We've had work sessions this year here in March, April, and May to better hone in on the project that we wanted to do. In September, we had board agreement on the overall scope of the project, and it should not be reduced from what we had for our original planning, but we did discuss and come up with some scope reduction options that were then put into the bid process. In October, the board moved to bid the project that was opened up in January, and we opened the bids. The bidding process was opened up in January, and we actually opened the bids here on Friday. In terms of funding, and I know, board, we've talked about this quite a bit, but just want to kind of bring this full circle again. As of right now, we will be fully funded for all of these projects, and I'll give you a summary here at the end of my presentation. That is based on estimates of the 25-26 general fund budget and the 26-27 general fund budget. The debt analysis that the board has seen from Public Financial Management, who are our consultants, and that includes the cost of the middle school project, an SLC project, and the long-term capital maintenance plan that we need to have here in the district. We're about halfway through those at this point. Because of that, no further real estate tax increase will be needed for these building projects. As I said, we are fully funded for the projects. The middle school low bids came in here with these contractors. Our general contractor was Lobar Incorporated at $32 million. Our electrical, again, Lobar Incorporated at $10 million. Our mechanical, or mainly HVAC, was Myco Mechanical, 9.5. The plumbing contractor, Myco Mechanical, 3.8. And then the abatement contractor, First Capital, for $84,000. We are extremely fortunate to have these contractors be our low bidders. I think everybody's aware of Lobar Incorporated. They have done great work for us here in our district. They've done pretty much every building that we have. They're currently the general contractor on the Northern Elementary School project that we have right now, and we're just very, very fortunate that we have a fantastic local general and electrical contractor here with Lobar. So again, very fortunate. Myco, they are also working both mechanical and plumbing on the elementary school project right now, doing a fantastic job. So the fact that we have 4 primes here, but we have 2 contractors under 4 primes is really incredible. And like I said, we're very fortunate that that's the case here for Northern. In terms of the overall costs, so again, the low bids here just got pulled over to the construction cost. The total construction costs here, $56,157,000. There is a $3 million allowance for the modulars. That is $500,000 less than what we talked about last time. CHA, formerly Dewey, has been doing a lot of work talking to companies, and they're very comfortable lowering that allowance right now after knowing the needs that we'll have, the amount of modulars that we'll have, and where costs are typically coming in for a project like this. So when you include that in, we're at $59,157,000. Total soft costs, about $6.6 million, and included in this are construction contingencies of $1.8 million. That contingency is unforeseen things that may come up in part of the project. So a very healthy contingency there. Obviously, if it's not spent, that's money we keep. Call it a buffer, if you will. So total project costs, all in, $67.6 million. That is below the Act 34 hearing budget, as I mentioned back in October 2023, so over 18 months ago now, that the school board unanimously approved of $68,069,000. So we are under budget with this job in total. Looking at these, and that is base bid. I failed to say that. That does not include any of the scope options that we talked about. I'm going to get into that next, but this is to do the bids and the project as we originally planned it to be. As I mentioned, we did those scope reduction options, so none of these have been removed from the budget that we just talked about. These are options that, of course, we can talk about here this evening. You've seen these before. You've seen the estimates. These are the actual costs per bid, and we lump them into three different groups. One is, no educational impact. It's not directly impacting in the classroom. We have some non-fundamental educational impacts, and then the bulk of them are fundamental educational impacts. Again, I want to be really clear, none of these deductions have come out of the $67.6 million total cost for the middle school project. Looking at the Northern Elementary School and Northern Middle School bids, so we know where the elementary school bids have come in. The total project cost $21,716,000. You'll see that at the very bottom. There's still about $790,000 of construction contingency. Again, that's money setting aside if we have change orders or things like that. As the board knows, we're over halfway through that project. Our construction manager doesn't want me to say that we're not going to use that money because we really don't know, but we're very far into that project, so I think the majority of that hopefully will be saved and that will not be spent as part of that project. So we're close to $21 million for Northern. And again, we just talked about the middle school, 67.6, and there is that $1.8 million of contingency within that budget. So looking overall project budgets, and this was something we really looked at and talked about back in the springtime, using the flat $21 million for Northern Elementary School when I reduced the contingency monies there. The Northern Middle School project, $67 million. Again, not spending all of those contingency monies. And remember, the 67 does not include any of the deductions for those scope options. The SLC project, we have budgeted $20 million, and then the capital maintenance plan is $20 million, so we're at $128 million. We do have interest earnings in here that we'll have from our budget, from our debt, that will help offset some of these costs, and that will get us to the goal of where we were at here 6-7 months ago of having all of these projects completed for $125 million. The debt already incurred on some of these projects is $40 million. We've already taken out that money. We've already earned $1 million of my estimated $3 million in interest earnings. That $1 million right now is going to go to offset capital maintenance that we have upcoming for that extra $10 million. So if you recall, we kind of looked originally, I have a slide on this, so I should move forward. Here was the August presentation. The right blue graph were the numbers we were looking at. We were talking about trying to get that 135 down to 125 through bidding. And what we've been able to do here in relooking at the SLC and our maintenance plans and things and whatnot, we've hit that goal of $125 million without having to go down the route of looking at any of those scope deletions. So some awesome news here. Really more than we had hoped for regarding costs, regarding the contractors that we have here being our low bidders. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. I think I did talk to Mr. Halaki. I wasn't sure if there's anything he wanted to bring up that I may have missed.
I was just gonna ask, with respect to debt capacity, we're still at $130 million of debt capacity, correct? So we're within $5 million of our maximum debt capacity at the end of all this construction.
Yeah, I haven't redone those numbers since we looked at those, but yes, I mean, it's gonna be similar to what we looked at.
Yeah.
Right, it's gonna be similar to what we looked at, whatever that was, 6 months ago.
I'll just add a little bit as a reminder from some of our discussions in August. We did talk about, at that point, we were kind of trying to move beyond whether it was proceed with going out for bid for a renovation middle school project, or was it something else, including new construction. We talked about the debt capacity limit, which just came up. We talked about trying to, at that point in time, SLC was 25 million. Middle school was around about, we were calling 70 million, so we were targeting 10 million out of those projects roughly, or we kind of call it 10%, trying to get the middle school to 63 million via the deducts. So that's why we went and asked for those deducts, was to try and reduce that scope. So I think, we can go through those deducts and get feedback on those from the board here as to what interest there is to bring those numbers down. One of the other things that was discussed in August was the benefits. One of the concerns with a middle school renovation was that the cost of the renovation was increasing and getting closer to a new build and starting to bump up against the theoretical concept of when it may be wise to build a new middle school. So that was another reason why we had asked to lower the cost to make the middle school renovation project more palatable, and also to lower that cost would get obviously the more financially fundamentally sound it can become. So I would kind of open it up, I think, first off to feedback from everybody on some of those alternates and deducts and thoughts on that.
The one I thought about was, describe the scope of work for the greenhouse. Is it a reno, the current greenhouse? Is it a new greenhouse? Because it's not included in this. So what are we gonna do with the current middle school greenhouse? Are we gonna demolish it, not have one, or build it?
The plan here is that it would be demolished and not built new. There was an added. It was A11. I don't have it on this sheet, but there is an A11 to add as a brand new greenhouse.
And the middle school was okay with that? I mean, I thought that was pretty important to them with the number of kids involved in our ag department, that the greenhouse project is pretty important to them.
You need to delete it or to build new?
To build new, to include it in the renovation.
Yeah, that would be A11, so we'd have to take that alternate as an add.
Right.
Yeah, it's not as it's not in the
Right. I'd be in favor of looking at that. I know it's $228,000, but that's curriculum. That's something to support. We have about 24% of our kids at the high school are in the vocational agricultural program. A large amount of those kids come from middle school, so I think that's something we should take a look at. The other question was on the bids. There was the warranty to go from 1 year to 2 years on a number of those projects. I see those weren't added in there, so we're not feeling a need to extend the warranty from 1 year.
Yeah, let's go to those, and those are all really good points, Jerry. So let's go to those first. So the way the alternates were done, I pulled this up here.
Yeah, the four of them total up, 79, 70, 25, and 10.
Right.
To 184. So
right. So,
Are we looking at a $184,000 warranty, or are we not, and why yes or no?
sure, yeah. So the first item that Mr. Schwirly brings up here is A11, that's the addition of the greenhouse. So again, that was not a base bid item, but as he pointed out, there's an add to these bids if we want to move forward in adding that greenhouse. So it is planned for, it's just a decision point we have to make. The other items, let me get into another slide. I'm gonna ask Jamie. Oh, he moved up. Thank you, Jamie. How'd you know? Wow, it's like you read my mind. I'm gonna ask Jamie. So remember, 1 through 10 are the items that the scope deletions, which we'll get back to. We need to have a discussion about those. 11 was the greenhouse. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 were all different items. One of them being, what you're asking about. So we're gonna hit all of these at one time since we have a slide on these, because we have different answers for different ones. So I'd like to turn things over to Jamie just to talk about some of these right now. Yeah, you can go to this mic. You can sit here.
Join the club.
And I think everybody remembers Jamie. He's with CHA.
Great, thank you very much. Greg LeMay is with me tonight. He's the construction manager at the elementary school. Dan D'Amico is here from Schrader Architects as well. So I think we have a full contingent to try to answer questions. And thank you very much, Mr. Young. The worksheet that Jason has up is all ready for your discussion, and you can highlight the alternates that you would like to select or discuss and then select. And then we have the bid tab live, and so I can update the budget as we go. But in order to answer some of those questions, this last slide was put together to help on some of the alternates that we don't have images of for you. And we've talked about these in the past, I believe. Alternate 12 is a sod alternate in lieu of seed in high traffic areas around the building. We have a similar alternate that I believe was selected for the elementary school. This is a very simple alternate that when the building is done, we want it to be done and also green when folks walk in. So high traffic areas for construction, they can green up very quickly as opposed to waiting for seed to grow and having students and other foot traffic over those areas. So it's a very small area at the entrances primarily. $13,000 is recommended for the board to consider. The next two are a little bit more elaborate. Alternate 13 has to do with an alternate to add cost for the contractors to classify excavation as unclassified. And what that essentially means is that the contractors, if these alternates are taken, excavate whatever they find. And that includes rock. In other words, if you accept these alternates, you don't pay another dime for rock on the project. And the recommendation from the team is to go with the electrical and the plumbing contract alternates here, and not that big GC alternate. We've taken a look at the project, the electrical work and the plumbing work around the building. It's utility work that's being installed in trenches. Some of it is actually going to be deep. Some of it is actually for the electrical contractor going to go under existing utilities, and there is a good chance that there'd be rock found. And we believe that that EC alternate is a reasonable cost, basically an insurance policy, so you're not paying for rock under the EC. The plumbing contractor is a little more interesting. There is plumbing work outside of the building, but there's also a good deal of plumbing work inside the building on the first floor, where we have to cut the floor and install new plumbing under the existing slab. And there's a good chance that we might encounter rock at that location. And that's why that number is higher. You can imagine removing rock from trenches inside of the building is going to take a good deal of effort. And so that's why that number is higher. Again, an insurance policy against it. Your next question might be, well, Jamie, why not take the GC alternate? And we've taken a look at the excavation for the general contractor on the project. The primary risk area is the underground stormwater basin associated with the project. Borings were done by the design team in this area. One showed rock at 4 foot deep, another showed no rock in part of that basin. And so understanding the amount of rock that has to be excavated, we think that the allowances, which are bid under a unit price in the general contract, are gonna be sufficient to take care of rock on the project. That does mean that we would pay for it as we go, but there's a rock allowance within the contract that we can use for that before we have to come to the board for a change order. I'd be happy to answer questions on that after I get through the other ones here.
What you're going against that is a not to exceed, or it's just $153,000 insurance policy, or is that a contingency that they bill on a unit price for X amount of rock until they exceed that, and then they're on the hook for it?
That's a good question. It's one or the other. With the acceptance of the alternate, they own the rock. You pay this amount, they own the rock, there's no chance of an extra. Without the ad, like the GC, we'll pay for rock at the unit price that they bid in the contract as we go, out of an allowance that's inside the contract already for rock. So we have a good number in there for you to protect you, and we think that that's gonna be something that we can work with successfully also within the contingency that's set up for the project.
The number for the rock, is that in the contingency, or is that?
No, it's in the bid.
Okay.
So it's in the base bid for the GC. There's a unit price bid and a quantity of rock that we estimated for the job that's already in the bid. It's not in the contingency. Contingency, just to be clear, is 100% yours.
So then I would ask, you based the rock allowance in the contract off of what you believe the rock to be?
On our best guess, yes, sir.
And this is just another, more or less, contingency?
This would be an insurance policy, but we really
Yes.
think on the excavation of the job, 50% of what's excavated would be rock, and you would get to half of this amount at that number. So we think it's worth sticking with what you have in the base bid. If I could go on to the last two, alternate 14 is a little easier. We have building additions associated with the project for the boiler room, for the cafeteria, for other small additions. And when you put the slab on grade, you always want to have a good subbase. And the base bid is to rely on the existing soils on the site being suitable to compact in place and be ready for a slab. This alternate requires the general contractor and the other contractors to import engineered stone to place below the slab, knowing that that product is, as an engineered stone, going to readily compact and be ready for concrete. So it's a way to expedite the preparation of building slabs. So especially in winter or during bad weather, we don't want existing soils to go to mud. Having stone is a much easier way. So this is another form of an insurance policy to expedite the work. The 12-month extended warranty, that was the question earlier. We bid a alternate for a 12-month extended warranty for all equipment furnished under all 4 prime contracts. And you see the numbers that are in your bid tab associated with them. There's one for the general, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. Commonly, we take a look at the numbers, but I'm sure that Matt would tell you that the most maintenance charged component of any of the schools is the HVAC contract. And so seeing that that was an add of only $9,000 for an additional 12 months of warranty, that's the one that we would recommend. Electrical equipment doesn't really have a lot of warranty items associated with it. Plumbing equipment, there might be hot water heaters or circulating pumps, really readily easy to repair. And the general contractor, he's got mainly windows and building product as opposed to equipment. The one big big equipment item is the kitchen equipment, and that comes with a vendor's warranty that's in excess of 2 years. So that's why the only recommendation for extended warranty is on the HVAC contract here. The last one, item 17, is actually a savings of $25,000. The building management system for the HVAC system was bid as an open bid and an alternate for NRG, which is the district's primary BMS vendor. NRG provided a price that was $25,000 below the base bid, and so that's one that's being recommended. So on this slide, the total recommended add is about $224,000. And then you have the other alternates that are on Mr. Young's other slide to consider as well. So as you consider them, I can type away on his head. Jason's prepared to highlight the alternates that you select this evening, and we can move on from there.
I have a next up question there. We have the, maybe you answered this already, we have the $1.8 million for the contingency, and we can't use any of that for these add-ons here?
Yes, you can, because the contingency is ultimately yours. And so you can fiddle with the budget however you choose. The contingency is for unforeseens that occur during the course of the work. On a project of this scale, with the phasing and the other components associated with it, it's our considered opinion that you try to stick to that 1.8 that we've been carrying all along as your contingency as you go into the project. What was absorbed with the bids is the $3.2 million contingency that was in our estimates carried up until this point. So if you wanted to take alternates here and you felt it was okay to knock the 1.8 down to 1.5, 1.2, certainly that's within your purview to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think the area where you may consider something like that would be in alternate 13, where if they've come up with a rock allowance that they have in there for what they believe to be accurate from a couple of tests, you could take that amount of rock, but then once the contractor exceeds that amount,
They didn't pull it out.
yeah, it's not from contingency, correct?
Yes.
And then just on top of this, what I would say is in terms of the keeping in mind what's tied also to these alternates was when we directed the team to provide the alternates, there was a 400 to 450,000, somewhere in that range, change order associated with that. To generate these alternates, so just keep that in the back of your mind as you're considering what we pay to get these alternates and what we're trying to get out of them.
Just if I could step in, May I had a question. So just to clarify, it's not open comment, but given the situation of her coming on next week, just wanted to give her the opportunity.
I didn't know if I was allowed
Yeah, you're
to
okay.
chime in or not. I may be naive in this, but I wanted to ask about the excavation part as far as, obviously our area is full of rock. This is part of the construction plan. There's $73,000 in there to import stone. Is there a bid or possible contractor that we can use to use the rock that already exists and have it ground for stone to save money, or does that cost more money? Is that even been a question of thought of? Sorry.
I have to say that the new board member has a good question. So it's a good question because rock that's excavated from a job can be processed and reused on site as fill. The question and the challenge that we have is when do we find the rock and when do we process it? And also where do we process it on this very tight site to be able to reuse it and when? And does it impact the schedule? Right? So if we had what's known as bulk excavation, and the example that I'm familiar with is when the turf field was built behind the high school, there was a fair amount of rock there, bulk rock. And that's a great opportunity for a contractor to excavate that rock, especially if it's weathered rock or it comes out in boulders, crush it and reuse it. Here we don't know when we're gonna get it and when we're gonna crush it. And the cost of having a crusher sit on site unused, unfortunately, outweighs the benefit of crushing the rock.
Is any of that, are you able to resell it then to those companies to help?
We put that in the contractor's hands, right?
Some of those costs.
So, yeah, that's exactly what they do when they find the rock, when they find any of the soil, it is their responsibility to remove all of the excess from the site. There's no additional cost.
Jamie, staying with that item, though, we need to, there's no way we can test suitable material before we determine if we wanna just pay them to bring in engineered rock for the subbase.
So that's another good question. The question is, how many tests do you do and where, right? Because I have to find all of the material. You're doing a boiler room addition, you're doing a cafeteria addition, you're filling the courtyard, you're potentially building a fitness area. When will I find the material and where will it go? Right? This eliminates piles of material sitting around an occupied school site. I bring in the material, it goes in place, the old material goes, and I'm done. That's why it's a benefit. The other thing is the stone, when it goes in, the other contractors have to excavate through it. So the plumber has to dig through it, the electrician has to dig through it, and put their trenches for utilities, not the mechanical guy. The stone is much easier to dig through and replace because you can trench excavate. You don't have to worry about the trench collapsing with soil. So that is the benefit. So unfortunately, we would have to be out there for weeks on end testing the soils and making sure. And still, I wouldn't be able to sit here and give you a guarantee like I can with this that it will work.
Yeah, like you said, I guess with the several different locations that we're dealing with and everything, so every time you're testing a location.
Yeah, so these are the ones that I've talked to Jason about. Are these are a little bit of an insurance policy. This list right here, making sure we have the vendor that you have elsewhere in the district, the rock and stone that we've talked about, the extended warranty, and also being able to green up and have a presentable building when it's done. So it's kind of an insurance slide.
And my thought has been very similar to what Greg Weir just asked, because I view it from the financial side. If I'm buying an insurance policy for this 150, I'm going back to item 13 now. I know we're bouncing maybe 13, 14, but if we're going to buy this insurance policy, for lack of a better term, to hit rock of 153, doesn't that offset some of? And I know Jamie just explained this, but I was with you that we offset some of our budget and the contingency because our risk is possibly minimal. As Jamie said, it's our budget. They're presenting to us what they think is the best budget. So certainly that's something we can talk about. But Greg, that was my thought as well for that piece. But do we want to stay here, or do we want to go back to I don't want to jump over it. Do we want to stay on this? Any other questions on these items?
Yeah, can I ask two big picture questions? Yeah, so the first one, the total contingency and soft costs. So our contract with Dewey, or CHA, takes us through bid. We don't have a contract with them for construction management services for the construction phase. Do the soft costs that you presented tonight include their fee for that service?
Yes, there's a management fee amount in the soft cost.
Okay, so we would need to amend their contract, but that money for that contract is already included.
Yes.
Okay.
It's included in the budget.
Correct, yeah. Okay, second big piece, modular allowance. We were carrying $3.5 million, right? So on paper, this is a $500,000 savings, but it's not really, it didn't come as a result of bidding, it just came as a result of lowering the cost for modular. So how confident are we that we're not gonna spend more than $3 million on modulars?
Well, it came, yes.
And maybe you went out to CoStars and
making our point finer, and I know Dewey, I did it. CHA, especially Greg, has done a lot of work on this, so I'll pass it to them. But I think, well, I'll let them speak for themselves.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, we do have two competitive quotes right now for the modulars, and the design team put the utilities for the modulars in this bid. Okay, so I'm the one that's been challenging the team on that $3.5 million, and they've come back, and we can share the quotes that are in hand already for the modulars. Two companies have been well below the 3.5. I've been persuaded to try to drop it below 3 million. I'm not ready to do that yet on your behalf. I'd rather see a finished quote that you can act on before we drop that number, but I am satisfied of dropping it $500,000 based on the quotes that I.
Okay, thanks.
How many modular classrooms?
What's our number, Greg? Can you help me?
10 classrooms, 2 support areas, and restrooms.
How's that?
10, if everybody couldn't hear, 10 classrooms, 2 smaller support spaces, and then a full 2 restrooms that they have in the modulars.
question about the soft costs. So in the summary email that came through with the update on the bids, it had 8.7 some million of soft costs. That's now 8.4. What led from the delta from one to the other, and is what we see here now the final soft costs?
One of those is because of the cost of the project right now. The architect's fee is based on a percentage of cost, so that dropped slightly. Also, you mentioned the fees associated with showing the alternates, so that has to be figured in. We've also, in that soft cost projection, raised the building permit fee in anticipation of what we'll see from the township. And at the same time, one other number has been removed from the soft cost after I consulted with Jason, and that's the cost of financing. The actual cost of financing is wrapped into the financing that PFM has given. And so to carry it in this budget would be to double count it. And so that ultimately, Mr. Gunning, the number that you see is the net effect of those changes in soft costs as we've gotten the bid data.
It's still an estimate.
Does the GC bid include the work by Kerr on the state road up front, entrance renovations to the state road? Is that included in the GC?
It is not. The turning lane is not included in the GC bid. That's a good question too.
So where would that be on our cost here today? And approximate cost, and where does that come in at?
Yeah, we still have to bid that. K&W is working on all of that work right now, through the township and whatnot. You know the newest estimate, have you seen that?
So I would like to see that number come in under $1 million. There's still some discussion that has to occur on that with respect to what you eventually do with the SLC. In seeing the preliminary drawings, I see one new turning lane that's above the tennis courts at the middle school, and then there's restriping of lanes out in the middle of the road. So I think that that's a fair number as far as what you'd be looking at for the turning lane.
And that actually has to be done now as part of the Northern Elementary School. So even if we decide we're doing nothing on our property other than what's going on at the elementary school right now, we must do those road improvements. It's tied to that plan. So we have to do that as part of the elementary school.
Jason, when you had sent us the budget, you had bidding contingency of $3.225 million. And where do I see that there, according to the Act 34 booklet and the bids now? How did you break that down, that $3.225 million?
Yeah, it wasn't broken down. That was the contingency, the estimate contingency until we went out for bid. Now that we went out for bid, we've got the good bidding numbers, so that goes away.
It's just totally gone.
It's gone. It's in the bids.
Was the contingency number baked into the middle school budget?
Was it?
Yeah.
Originally,
Did you
yes.
strip it
Yes.
out separately to identify it separately?
No, it was something that doing, or.
Because I think the question is, it did show up in the Act 34, I don't believe. Is it?
It's in the Act 34 book. It is.
Okay.
If you go to the slide that contains the budgets, and it has, I'll leave the Act 34 budget.
The Act 34 is 311. 311,897. Yep.
Right, so that was a number based on, where we thought bids would come in. That was our hedge, and fortunately we just absorbed that and turned it to zero once bids come in.
Jason, your last slide that lists all of the different projects that we're doing, in the total cost, that August to March.
Yes.
It might be helpful for future ones just to show that road improvement number, that $1 million up there, because we're still gonna spend it. Like, we've got to account for it somewhere, so.
Yep.
So I looked at the Act 34 booklet. We had total for the GC, HVAC, EC, and PC estimated at $52,972 million. And the bids came back a little over 56. So it's like a $4 million difference. Are you concerned that's gonna trigger a referendum? We're like $600 and some thousand away from a referendum.
No, and we can do that analysis based on your alternate selection, but we do have some latitude up to the maximum building expenditure. So I can satisfy your question on that by next week. We just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Will we go through Plan G for the contractors to verify that the bids are, where they are, that we don't trigger this referendum?
We will confirm that for you, yes.
You will go through Plan G and share that with the board?
Right, we collect the GO8s
Right.
and confirm for you that you don't have to go through the referendum. But we don't actually submit the GO8s to PDE anymore, it's not a requirement of Act 34. So we'll satisfy that requirement for you.
Before things go out to bid?
Before you act on this next week, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to send something out and, award bids before we didn't break any laws here.
I wouldn't want to do that either. We just need to know what the total contract amount will be so that we can do the final numbers for you.
Okay.
We're back to you, John.
Sorry, Tom.
No. We're gonna get to all of it, so it's not a problem at all. I think this is, again, I think this is back to where we're at now, just to have a discussion on scope reduction options. Was there any particular one you wanted to speak to?
No, I think we just need to go down the list. I think, our goals remain similar, and I think we just need to seriously evaluate all these and see which ones we can cutting out and what the benefit is.
Just a reminder, we're making decisions tonight for 50 years. In fact, our school district for 50 years. I wouldn't want to skimp on some things that impact our kids and teachers for that long. So one chance here to get it right.
You'd like to go one by one, is that the best way to do this? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll pull up, and this isn't exactly what I sent the board yesterday. Thankfully, CHA did some work for me as I was trying to quickly get all of this together. And we'll just go alternate 1 through 10 as we have them on here. These are all deducts. So alt 1 was the deduct for this item here, which is an island, a concrete island, so it would be raised up. And it really was meant to separate the bus corral, which is here on the right of the site, with all of the parking and student pickup and drop off on the left of the site. The middle school new entrance would be down here on the bottom. The high school obviously is up here at the top. So the alternate here would be, instead of having the concrete, it would become just a painted area. So it would be flatter, not flatter, it would be flat. We could look at obviously putting up some sort of bollards or cones or something like that, but there would be no actual curb put into the site there. So that's a $38,000 savings by not having the curb.
The intent would be that it also would function as the main thoroughfare for students from building to building, or?
Right, yes, if you're going from building to building, it would be here. They'd also have the access like they have now. It would become the front of the middle school. They have that huge walkway that goes from the current back of the middle school across. That would still be maintained in there as well. So they'd have two places in order to do that. This was really just ensuring that we're keeping separation between the cars and the buses when we have buses on property. That was the main gist of it.
I don't know, high school boys driving through the bus lot over there. Right, Renee?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm
I said,
over
we have a
here,
bus
like,
driver.
what hit the bit, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a big savings, but in it every single day, and what these kids do, and even the kids walking across from the middle school to the high school, having a designated space separated from every, it's a good idea.
impact snow removal by having it there. And it's just
He's
like
not
traffic.
here, he left.
Well, but traffic pattern, like after the school day, and I've got a swim meet, and I've got a basketball game, and a wrestling match, and
Matt does not like this from a snow removal side. I will speak for him on that regard. It makes snow removal more difficult, but it was done more from a safety aspect to try and ensure that we have some sort of separation. So I'm not saying you're trading one for the other. That's not what I'm saying. I think both could work, but that's why it was originally planned.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of the, sporting events and stuff in the evening, and you don't have buses there providing similar paths of egress.
Right.
You just stripe it and have some cones in between that you just, pull out.
Another security guard or two.
I mean, certainly when the buses are not there, evening events, it's certainly, you have one entrance and exit point here in front of the high school near the Polar Bear lobby. And then, of course, this one's much more difficult because we are trying to force the cars from the middle school out Polar Bear Drive. So it definitely, the after-school type of stuff, it is a much more significant separation. But again, it was because of the AM and PM lunchroom bus.
Is there a compromise where you have like movable bollards, like the utility people have, that you pull out?
That's something we could look at, as if we went with the striping, that's something I definitely would want to talk with both Mr. Johnson and Mr. Laputa about what's, capable of being done at a decent cost. Yeah, I think there's other options. This option's curb, no curb. That's kind of what we're talking about. But I totally hear what you're saying. If we just keep going, y'all can keep thinking. Is that how we want to do this? All right. Okay. Go ahead.
As I said, just kind of like line by line into that is to get an idea for you guys.
Do you wanna look at all of them and then come back? And go through?
Whatever's easiest for the board.
Yeah, does the board wanna do that? Do you just get a visual on all of them and then come back?
I mean, I think I would ultimately like to hear a recommendation from construction management, architect, administrative team on each one of them, but when you want to provide that, whether it's as we go or at the end, it doesn't really matter.
This one's a U pickup item. It does exactly what is intended by separating buses from car traffic. And so to some degree, it's a safety measure. Nothing is ever, 100% as far as being successful. As soon as you put that curb in, it's forever, right? And the flexibility of the parking lot for after-school events could potentially be impacted. You would know better than we on that. And then just to respond to Mr. Miller's comment, yep, removable bollards or something could work. There needs to be one every less than 8 feet so that you can't have cars driving between them. They're at about $2,000 a bollard. And so stretching along that line, it would probably be more expensive than $38,000 this year, just to give you a frame of reference.
I say delete. Yeah, I think I would delete and say something to address. Let's see.
I was gonna say
I'm gonna keep it. I really don't have an opinion on this one. Quite honestly, like if our construction manager says you pick it, because I'm okay getting rid of it. There's a compelling reason, like $38,000 is going to make a difference when we tally all these up, and I would take it. So.
Yeah, I was actually leaning toward keeping it just for safety purposes.
If I can be helped, absolutely. Come back, see what it looks like in the end, see what the number looks like,
let's go to the outdoor learning stairs, and I think I had a couple other more visual items that I sent last evening. But that's outside here of the fitness room, the new fitness room. Main entrance is here to the middle school, and this would be just a tiered structure. You have concrete that's coming over to it, and again, you have these built-in tiers. That is, again, an outdoor classroom, so students can sit on those tiers. You can have instruction space here. This would be your classroom area. And so again, that was just something, since we do have the topography, sure, okay, that we could build that into the hillside, but it doesn't have to obviously be there either. So that's what that is.
I think so. This is one for middle school, also for the high school, to be able to use if you have a program that would incorporate an outdoor classroom. I look at this on the practical side. That's the only side I can look at it from. It's something else that needs to be maintained, and it's more excavation, which means a possibility of rock. But that's all right. An outdoor classroom is what's needed for the education of the middle schoolers and on the campus, then by all means.
Well, I'll make a comment there. So remember on the first slides we went through, we had the different categories. So we have this as in the educational category, but non-fundamental. Meaning that the curriculum and the program of the school can run without it. It's nice to have. Obviously, we would want to keep everything on the list, but we did categorize that as non-fundamental.
You could always build this space later, like it doesn't have to be done with this renovation.
Shooting at how many outdoor, I guess, events or things would you use it for?
Well, right now, if you go over to the middle school on a nice day when the weather's decent, you'll find quite a few teachers outside teaching on the sidewalks and the open parking lots and chalk and whatnot, taking the kids outside and getting them some fresh air. So I don't doubt that it would be used by our middle school teachers, but again, we classified it as non-fundamental. But I do not doubt that it would be used.
Would it be more cost with the playground?
Would likely be more cost, because we're already, on site, we're already doing the work. If you wait and say, hey, you have escalation, there's just, I think, everything would say it would cost more later. I would echo the potential maintenance issue of it. It's a different animal than what we have right now.
Keep it.
Item number 3, one of the more substantial items is the learning stairs instructional area, as well as underneath of this, there is a classroom. So by removing this, we lose the learning stairs, which is an educational instructional area, but we're also losing a classroom. You see that here in the plans. So this would be on the first floor. There's a STEM classroom underneath, obviously the upper portion of the stairs, and also a storage room. So if we did not do this space, and I hate to say just learning stairs because there's a lot more to it than that, but it's the stairs going up to the second floor as well as a STEM classroom and storage, we would lose all of that, and it would just become what it is now, a courtyard.
We got that item on the fundamental to the educational programming. We really see that as 3 classroom spaces. It's big enough for double class to to hold class on the stairs, and then there's a classroom underneath. And again, note the creativity of the middle school staff, and no doubt that would be used. The other thing is it gives us an extra access point from one level to another level, which gives us a chance at times to spread those kids out, which is always a good idea to spread the middle schoolers out if you can. So we saw that as a fundamental educational space.
Question on the elevators. How many elevators are in this project? We have one now. We maintain one or we get two? Still just one?
Just one.
Gotta have an elevator, guys.
Right, under this alternate, the elevator moves to the other courtyard space.
The learning stairs in the classroom and storage, I'm guessing are probably used more than the courtyard. Or will be.
For sure.
So what prevents a student or an object from traveling from the top of that to the bottom rapidly? Like there's nothing in between. Like there's a handrail for the kids going up and down. But like at the end of the day, like that is just wide open from second story to first story. That's basketballs, softballs, kids, water bottles, like you name it. Like what? If we're talking about safety, like what stops that from this learning standard?
So at the top, there is a railing that goes all the way across. If this was enlarged, you have the rail that goes up the stairs so you can walk it. But at the very top, there's a railing that goes all the way across the very top stair. And I believe Mr. Young is pulling up some renderings as I talk slowly to help you of what that space looks like.
Mountain View Middle School, Carmel Valley has something similar to that. Works very well over there from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's a good space, and I think the slope too, not that you couldn't, gravity's gonna do its thing, but it is very, the slope is minimized as compared to a steeper stair. There's a lot of space. Steps.
There's no intermediate barrier or railing going from left to right like you have at the top. Like obviously the top one stops a kid from pushing another one down the first flight. But when you're standing at the top of it, like what prevents you from going to the top? I mean, these aren't these are not 18, 20-year-old students going to university. These are middle students.
That's a new question for me. I've installed the learning stairs with Schrader Group and other architects in a number of schools, including elementary schools. And so you see on the right, that stair, which has a very long tread and a short riser. So this is an easy stair to climb. The learning steps where students are sitting, that's not a very steep incline at all. It's not like you're pushing someone and they would tumble all the way. They would never get to the bottom of the learning stairs. They would go a level or two, and that's where they would be. This is not a steep incline that comes to the bottom. I hope I'm representing that well.
Do I see a landing about halfway down too?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Can I just say, like, middle school principal, like, we have bleachers that kids can fall from the top to the bottom, and they don't. Like, we have steps, all of those things are the case. I mean, at the end of the day, like, and again, it's teaching the expectations, but kids will walk down the right side of that, you can't walk down the left side of that. It's just, so we want staff there, like, to be able to be there. So,
You guys aren't concerned about it. I know it's gonna happen. You're gonna have stuff traveling down there fast. So.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my first concerns when I saw that, is you just up the Ferris, somebody steps backward, it's not a 8-inch drop, it's a 24 to 30-inch drop. This was also the one thing that kind of kept coming out as being maybe over the top, which has been a concern to me. I want to make sure we are providing large group spaces that are needed in this building.
outside of this, have one large booth space provided for each trade in this design outside of this space. So, you know, if there's something that needs to get cut with a significant value to keep maybe windows or something else in, I think this is something to be considered. I would be willing to remove it if it's gonna help us save other things.
Could we speak louder?
I like it.
Remove it, willing to keep it, like it. It looks awesome. I mean, I guess if I had given a choice between that and a courtyard that's not gonna get used with an additional classroom, I'd take the learning stairs. Troy, call me if somebody throws a bouncy ball down it, because
Yeah, well,
I wanna see what it's like.
Yeah, I think, I look at that, $700,000 is a lot of money, but that's for a space where 2 classes can be and an additional classroom. And so for 700,000, like to spend how many millions of dollars on a school to then leave it with a cavity in the middle of it instead of having a powerful space that can be used there, like, you know, that's one of those places where like, if we talked about the guidance curriculum earlier, if we have people that were interested in hearing from a real estate agent, come on down to the learning stairs, listen to that, like, there's so many uses for that. Even like musical performances, people can perform down there and the audience can sit on the learning stairs. They can do it in the outdoor classroom, if we keep the outdoor classroom, but like, to me, like, I know $700,000, I don't blink at that, that's a lot of money. However, like, think about the value of what you're getting. You're getting really 3 powerful educational spaces. And if you don't, you're saving $700,000 out of a multi-million-dollar, I mean, millions and millions.
Yeah, but I'll echo what John said, if we have to save money, that would be the first thing that I would eliminate. So, Joe?
What's the class that's planned with this? What's underneath? Yeah, this is, there's STEM.
Additional
So
stuff.
there's some STEM classroom underneath this stuff. And storage area. I would be willing to cut it, but it would be one of the last things I would cut.
Even,
So far, we've paid Schrader $450,000 for $130,000 worth of savings. So at some point, the board's gonna have to be willing to do what we asked 6 months ago, and that is to find some savings here. So I would eliminate it. If the board's willing to consider other things to eliminate, I'd be okay with leaving it in. But if we're gonna go through this process and we're gonna end up spending $300,000 of extra money to cut out something, it just makes absolutely no sense. So I'm open to removing it.
If it's something else too, we just need to make sure we're considering as we go through this, we wanna work this to something that's approved, gonna get approved. And so, as you're making decisions, make sure it's something that you can stand by and vote yes to.
Keeping a tally, we'll see where we end up, but we'll move on. So item 4 here is above the new tech ed space. This is in the other courtyard, and this would just be a raised up roof area to allow natural light into that space. Sorry, I should go back against that. You saw a nice picture of the other structure. But this is what is in the base bid to allow, you know, that to pop up, to allow windows to come in. That space feeds other interior classrooms and the library as well. That's $150,000, $151, in order to achieve, you know, raising that. And really, that's all about natural light. That's what we were trying to achieve.
have the rendering with it lowered on the next slide, Jason?
I don't have one with it lowered, no. I just have the one that has it, raised up. But, be this minus the windows, really. So the roof would be at the top, give or take, at the top of that purple line. You can see here.
Does the lowered roof still have daylighting?
No, I don't believe it does. No.
It's above tech ed, or bandsaws, sanders, plangers, or all that stuff.
You need to plot your height over top of that purple line.
I guess we should be asking, do we, like, is there a recommendation on this? Is this a coin flip again? We just kind of gotten ahead of you guys.
Yeah, these are the hard ones, right? This is all about daylighting into that space, and I think what the design team has always talked to you about, and also to the educational team, is the importance of daylight that penetrates not only to one space, but through glass panels in the corridor to other spaces. And so that's what's recognized in the original design here. And so, yeah, I hate to tell you that you pick them, there's not really a technical component here, other than you'd be eliminating construction materials, lowering the roof, and relying on artificial light in the space.
The complaint all along has been lack of natural light in the building, so no, I definitely
I'd be happy to remove it.
Keep it.
I was thinking to remove it. The lighting that we need, rather than keep it sufficient.
I would prefer to see the natural light remain, but if I needed to sacrifice it to get an approval of the project, I would be willing to sacrifice it.
And I feel that, there's a lot of machine shops out there, a lot of different places that have these machinery and, workspace that do not have natural lighting. I think they're at the cost of the savings of eliminating that. If light is an issue, we can add more LED lights to compensate for that issue, so I would remove it.
Yeah, I got it. I'm doing a very interesting approach.
You want my opinion?
Yeah.
Keep it.
The next item is the interior courtyard windows, corridor, just got done with corridor. Corridor windows and millwork benches. I'm gonna ask that we hold on this. I actually would like to go to the next one first because it kind of drives what you would get out of this alternate. So item 6 is the exterior windows. This is the biggest potential deduct that was seen in the bids. So what you'll see here, and I have a rendering on the next slide, but here's the existing windows. You can see they're very narrow, somewhat narrow, and we'd be looking to try and enlarge those, to, again, get more daylight into the classrooms and potentially into the corridors as well. Here's what this is a rendering of the new windows. Originally it was talked about that we try to maintain some of the brick around here, but through the bid process, I'm not sure who it was, Schrader and some others determined that actually this type of style with the metal sheathing kind of wrap is actually more cost effective. So this is what kind of the end product, this is what was bid and what the end product would look like if we were to enlarge the windows in the existing building.
What do you think the lifespan of those windows are?
Yeah, I mean, they come with typically like 20 to 30 year warranty. The biggest issue would be your caulking around it, that
constructability aspect, is it like meeting the project schedule and all the difficulties? This is a hard renovation. Is it easier for our general contractor to do this, or is it easier for them to take the deduct and put in new windows, but in the existing location of the current windows?
Well, unfortunately, that's an easy one, but, you know, you're dealing with, you know, the old windows that didn't provide a lot of daylighting, and so I understand the attractiveness and the reality of doing this. Certainly, I think everyone can understand that removing those windows and replacing them with this arrangement adds a level of complexity to the phasing, and of course, the cost of the project. So replacing in kind certainly is easier. I think everybody can understand that we're gonna be removing brick and cast stone here in order to do this as part of the phase renovation. So yes, it would be easier to take this deduct.
One part of the alternate though, if we kept the existing windows as is, there's eyebrows that are kind of over on the second floor. They're falling and deteriorating, so we're gonna cut them off. And then cap with the similar metal panel over that existing cast concrete.
So you would be adding daylight because you're removing the eyebrow. In other words, the sunshade or the eyebrows that are blocking the natural light from coming in at the top half of those windows, those go away, correct?
The eyebrows go away. I don't know. I mean, you get a little less indirect light. There's no eyebrows on the lower level as is, and they don't get as much daylight as we would recommend to begin with. So you do get a little more direct sunlight when you remove those sunshades. There's no sunshades on the north side of the building, I believe, in the addition area. So this area that we see now, there's no eyebrows on those. It's only in the original part of the building.
Once again, I guess this is you pick it, or is there a recommendation here? Like, this is a big number. Like, this is.
This number was within a few $1,000s of the estimate that we had for this, so the bids actually came in very close to what we estimated here. You know, it's a challenge from a constructability standpoint, but having completed projects with a good deal of natural light and fenestration of this nature, it does make for a wonderful space. So, you know, that is the decision that you have to make. You might ask about, well, does the HVAC system have to be changed for this? And the answer is no. The HVAC system is designed for either option. It'll be efficient either way. So there really isn't another engineering component associated with doing the windows in this fashion.
Fair question for you. This and the learning center are the two biggest ticket items. Like, if you had to say, this one's gonna help my kids, and this one's a nice, you know, to have. Yeah, sorry, if you had, like.
I mean, as I said before, when I've addressed the board, like, I would like all of this stuff, because I think we need to stop asking people to do more with less, right? Let's give people exactly what they need so they can do more with it. So if you're asking me, so to me, like, I think this is important because it's got natural light into every single classroom, which is something that we heard from our kids when we talked to them. So that would be my official answer. You asked me if I have to, you know, pick or choose or rank or whatever. Like, I mean, if I can get, if the renovation has learning stairs with an additional classroom, it's got natural light that goes into the tech ed room, or the existing the commons has the elevated roof that gives natural light. I think we can talk about the fact that we are adding natural light to other areas of the school, and I can feel good about that if those are not expanded, if that makes sense.
I know it's a big what if, but how safe in serious situations like lockdown type things, we have had them here in our school district, whether all that, I mean, obviously, you know, they're built for, but what are the risks or potentials with that as far as keeping regular sized windows in comparison to making your whole
wall a window. Then I can bring the concept up.
You gonna help me, Dan? Let me go first. I'll give you the courtesy so that you can come on top. So, windows in classrooms are a topic that we discuss with public safety officials on just about every job. And you won't be surprised to hear that the opinions are often split. We have individuals, police or school security, who would rather be able to see in classrooms from the outside, so they see what's happening. And as part of your emergency management plan, the classrooms should have numbers in vinyl lettering on the outside. And that plan should be on file with the emergency responders, so that there's a radio call from inside the school, they know what the room number is from the outside. We've had the same discussion on the stair towers, where they would like to see into stair towers. In other cases, there's public safety officials who would not want to see into it. So it's whether we want to see the people we have to help, or we want to see the perpetrator, or multiple perpetrators who might be inside or out. And you know that every event is different from the next, right? So the decisions are split. What it boils down to is the safety plan that you implement in your district. And if it's, run and hide, these classrooms, that's not the full width of the classroom. Correct. Right, Dan? So there is an opportunity when teachers and your safety officials get in, okay, the plan for this classroom is this is where students line up in the event of a lockdown, or this is where students go in the event of a lockdown. And so that honestly is what we hear on just about every job, is that there's pluses and minuses to everything. And, are we making the school safer as a result of the renovations? I know that the answer is yes. I don't think that putting the windows in or not putting them in has a big safety determination in either way. Dan, did you get anything else? I mean, that was well said. Okay.
Because I do think that natural light, that's an amazing feature for the kids. That's one thing that they always say, that they don't want to be in a dark room. So we're alternately lit room.
So I'm guessing though 5 is gonna be there if 6 is.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be. The reason I wanted to start with 6, because they kind of lead from one to the next. So the reasoning behind having the larger windows was to get more light into the classrooms, and then to add windows from the classrooms into the hallways, into the corridors, to again infiltrate more natural light into the entire building. Now with this, it's both windows and there's benches that they put along in different areas. Here it looks like it's all over the place. I don't think they're literally that close throughout the entire building. Thank you. No, they're not. But this is just an illustration that you have, a bench here in the hallway and a window above it. Again, a kind of combo deal to get that natural light into the corridors.
Back to that 6 quick, talk about the complexity. Is there any benefit to the construction schedule and expediting any of it if it isn't tearing apart the whole exterior wall, if it is removing a window and cutting an eyelid off and putting a new one? Is there any benefit to shorten work?
Not that's defined in the bid. So we did not accompany the alternate with some shorter contract schedule. We know we'll need every bit of the last summer in order to finish the job. From a complexity standpoint, that is an advantage, and you might see a benefit in the end, but there's nothing that's in the contract that I can tell you, today we're going to finish 30 days earlier if you don't finish.
30 days later.
Is there a way without sacrificing the inside quality of light to alternate, have one bigger window that's next to it, cost saving window, kind of cross stitching down the building? If you save money that way, or is that just you'll get some extra light, but
I believe it's one window per classroom, is that right?
correct.
Yeah, so it's one. So you in that scenario, you get more like the sum and less than the sum. It's not 2 windows per classroom. And I'd be willing to remove it if I almost get across the finish line. I'd rather see it stay in compared to learning stair. Can't plug it into every room, just kind of improve everything throughout the building.
Yeah, I like the idea of the visual lighting. But I would probably put this cost back to these ones. I think it's significant reductions. I like the idea of the visual lighting.
Yeah, I would rather have a learning stair in a STEM classroom than bigger windows, as nice as it looks. But great to get a project. Joe?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I removed this one.
Keep it.
Remove 5 and 6.
We're still getting new windows regardless.
Yeah.
It's still new glass. That one.
So we're moving 6, piggyback off that, you're okay if I just roll the 5 days? Greg Weir?
Yeah,
So basically it'd just be the benches that
yeah, we would also remove 5.
Okay.
Yeah, there'd really not be much more to do 5.
okay, gotcha, so 5 and 6 come off.
The next item is the height of, I'm sorry, let me just flip. So real quick, there was 2 7s, and 7A was actually an add. It was to remove the windows and replace them with metal panels. It actually cost more per the bids to get rid of windows. So you didn't even see that because obviously this whole process is to try and cut costs, not add costs. So I will go to 7B, which was the lowering of the commons roof. I believe, yeah, so here's just real quick, here's a picture of, as is base bid, what we've planned for on the exterior. Here's what it would look like on the exterior with a lower roof. Here's what it looks like inside with that higher roof. Again, you see the windows there on the left side. They're bringing a lot of that natural light. And here would be the lower roof. Obviously, you're losing all of those windows on the left side and just overall a lower general area here for the commons. And this is a very similar roof to what is existing in the cafeteria now, which we're having trouble with some sound and things. So I will say this one item was, Greg has asked for admin recommendations. We've yet to give them. But this is one item that, and the only item that you'll hear us say, we would encourage you to keep this in the base bid and not take this fee up. I think it's very important to this space and the construction to have the commons be the way it was originally planned.
That lower roof eliminate that stairwell at the far end?
We kept the stairwell, so the stairwell will stay.
It stay.
Yes, regard. That was the one item we talked about it when we were doing all. So yeah, the stairwell will stay no matter what. This is the height. Yeah, this is the one item I would say we have to keep.
What do you think? Keep it? I'm gonna vote for all.
All right.
We're in under budget, why are we cutting things here? Things came in under for everything plus the greenhouse. So there's my votes for the night. For everything, and the greenhouse. Oh, it's not all this money, all this thing, we're in under budget, let's roll with it.
All right, item 8, I promise we're getting close to the end here. Item 8. Yeah. This is just to remove the terrazzo within the commons and to do resilient tile, luxury vinyl tile. Here you'll see the two differences. 200,000. I'll again speak for Matt. Matt and I talked about this quite a bit. This is a maintenance issue. You know, those commons are going to be heavily traveled. It's the main curve there, basically for anything that's happening in the building now. It is definitely a deduct we can take, but we have terrazzo just about everywhere in this district, and it has treated us extremely well. So I just want to put that in there.
The construction manager doesn't consider this a you pick up, terrazzo's forever. It's the preferred product.
I was gonna say, we have some buildings, but it is how now.
Well, yeah, well, all of our buildings have. I mean, when we have renovations in Dillsburg, Wellsville, it's the same terrazzo floor in the hallways. We buffed it, you know, and it looks, not the color necessarily, but the finish, it looks like it's brand new. I mean, it's, as JB just said, it's literally forever, and it has treated us very well. Item 9 is collaboration spaces. This is 83,000. This is for 2 of the 3. Here's what. Oh, I got a picture of it. Hold on. Sorry. I do have a picture on the other slide. So this is, I think Mr. Gunning had asked when we were talking learning styles, does every class have, you know, 6th, 7th, and 8th have a combined space, a collab space? And the answer is yes. In the base bid, they would all look something similar to this, just an open area where multiple grades can get together, or classrooms can get together, they can collab. And yes, the base bid has this. This deduct would basically maintain the existing walls around this collab space. It'd still be an open area inside of it, but it would be closed in almost like it would look like another classroom. It wouldn't be open to the general population. Is there anything else there?
Yeah, so for 8th grade, since we're reconfiguring the library space, they would still maintain their open collaboration space. But for 6th and 7th grade, Jason just corrected, it actually would stay the 2 classrooms. It wasn't going to be one large space.
Thank you for correcting me.
So we did no demo in that space.
Okay, no demo. So it is 2 classrooms. Thank you.
You talk about growth in the district, if we ever needed classrooms, I mean, I want to keep these, at least gives us some opportunity for growth, you know, down the road. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say we definitely need to keep it if the learning stair goes away. We need some negotiable learning stair becomes one of the large group spaces, and it's just sits 2 classrooms.
I don't know what John says.
Then the last item is the fitness room. So this is, I'm going to show you this and then I'll bring up the amount. But this is out towards the front of the building. This right here where I'm hopefully you see my cursor, is the main entrance to the building. The gymnasium sits over here. This is already going to be added on this section right here. It's going to be bathrooms, hallway, storage area, things like auxiliary type of space for the gymnasium. And out in the front here was going to be the fitness room that we were going to add on. Obviously, when we were looking at the plans for potential scope reductions, you know, that was an item we said, well, we can easily, not easily, but we could, you know, remove that space. So here's what it would look like. This is again, if it's added in, main entrance is here. This is that hallway I was talking about, and then it sticks out. You do see this tiered spot is that outdoor learning that we talked about long ago. But that would have been in front, would be in front of the fitness room. Here's what the interior looks like to the fitness room. A couple treadmills, bikes, things like that, weightlifting rooms and whatnot. I believe this is the, help me there.
it's a trainer suite office.
Trainer office, trainer suite over here. So this section would all be deleted if we remove this. I'll show you quickly here. So that's $371,000 in savings if we were to remove that space.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I'd say, that the fitness is part of the physical education curriculum, so in the winter time when, boys are in it gives one gender the ability to have the full gym and the other is in, the fitness room. I think it opens up opportunities for kids after school, that sort of piece, because, there's a weight room, high school is a weight room over here, I understand that, but our middle school kids tend to get in the way of what's going on with the high schoolers. So I think, when you're doing a renovation in addition to a building, and not pick winners and losers, and so like, right now, our PE has a fitness room and has a gymnasium, and if we were to cut this, then we're in a renovated, added on building, and they have less resources. Because hard to communicate that. And I think if you look at our children who are becoming less and less active, other times I think it's important to provide a space for them, to learn some of those lifelong skills.
Additional space, there's athletic trainer suite, not trainer. Okay, let's get that right.
Yeah.
Certified athletic trainer, don't call me trainer, okay? We need to have that, we need to have an athletic training room over there, take care of the needs of the kids in that building. So please have an athletic trainer room.
Yeah.
Here we go. We do have one. Thank you, Jamie. Here's the greenhouse. So Mr. Shirley had asked about this early on. This is an addition. This is not part of the base bid. So this would be in addition to the base bid costs if we added the greenhouse. To give you an idea, this is obviously a bird's eye view of the middle school. The greenhouse would come down here, kind of towards the end of where the old building used to end before they added on the addition. So this green area is where the greenhouse would be going. Here's a quick, I know it's black and white, but an external view of what that greenhouse would look like. If you remember, the ag department would be over here as well. So this is our agricultural department. That's getting to the middle. Arts over here, so it would be right outside of the ag classroom.
There's no dimensions of this?
Yeah, roughly. Oh, what the dimensions are?
Dimensions? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's about 15 or 16 by 30 feet.
This is part of the curriculum, right? So you want to speak to how, I mean, I know what the greenhouse is like now, but what's curriculum's use of?
Yeah, so we have an 8th grade agricultural literacy class. As part of the project without the greenhouse, and I'll let Dan talk about this because he's much more intelligent than I am. But there's like a grow wall that they could still grow stuff within the classroom that we spoke to the agricultural teacher about. So that piece is, and so I think it just allows. I think one of the things it would do, it would allow for a little bit more collaboration between high school and middle school, and like things that are growing in high school, you can share with us too. I think it allows for like a, flex and activity and other electives. Like right now, we offer one agricultural course. In the future, we could expand it from one elective to several different. So I think it provides opportunities not to be cheesy, but for growth of that.
Paul, can I ask, why was this not included? Yeah, we originally had planned for that row wall to really be able to be the curriculum piece with.
And the conversation with the teacher was like, she was satisfied with that at the middle school level. And as the project was going along, obviously we were looking for savings. So I think that's why. Not to cut you, so I'm sorry.
No.
I see the large emphasis this district has on ag, I think we should try to keep it.
I wasn't coming here expecting anything. I mean, I'd like to see us maybe somewhere else if we're gonna add something, but I do believe with the population of our district, it makes sense to have the space or fully utilize it. All right, so let me pull up. Jamie's been keeping track as well. Let me pull up the list, and I think we have a list to talk about, and Jamie can give you an estimate of, not estimate, run the numbers on savings. So what I have here, please correct me if I'm wrong, but our green items, I put them green, yellow, red. So green in terms of, hey, we don't want to lose this. We'd like to keep this. I have the roof over the commons. We're not deleting the lowering of that. I have the terrazzo in the commons. We're not removing the terrazzo. We're maintaining terrazzo. I have the collaboration spaces, at least for now, leaving them in. So again, not removing the collab spaces. And then I also have leaving in the fitness room, not removing the fitness room. So those are we're not interested in talking about getting rid of them. And then, yeah, is everybody good with 7, 8, 9, 10? That we are not interested in removing those items. Okay. I see agreement from everybody. Let's go to the other end of it, and then we'll talk about maybe that middle area. So A2, which was the outdoor learning area, I think that was a pretty unified, yes, we're okay to delete that item. So A2 would be coming out of the base bid. A6 and 5 kind of joined together for now, that they would be coming out of the base bid. That's the exterior window expansion and the interior windows into the corridors with the benches. Then I'll just go on real quickly. I have A1, A3, and A4 as, well, maybe it depends. So A1 was the concrete island, A3 was the learning stairs, instructional area plus the classroom and storage, and A4 is the roof over the courtyard infill in the tech ed area. So 1, 3, and 4 we're kind of in the let's see where things play out. 2, 5, and 6 we're in the most likely to cut if we need to cut. And for now, we agree with that. I can give you the numbers here from Jamie, and of course, adding the greenhouse. I don't know if I said that. Adding in the cost of the programs. When you say, Mr. Young, most
most likely or maybe. My spreadsheet doesn't work on those. I know. I can give the board,
So one, for your spreadsheet, leave 1, 3, and 4 in the job for now. I would like to give the board the new cost if we remove 2, 5, and 6 only. 2, 5, and 6 only. That's the outdoor learning area, the exterior windows, and the interior.
so do not take 1.
Correct. Do not take 1.
Do not take learning center.
Correct. Do not take the learning center.
2, 5, 6.
Correct.
11.
Correct.
And then I have the items that were on the last slide.
Correct.
Okay. Bear with me. Get through me a curveball.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2, 5, and 6. Yes. I have added the greenhouse. I didn't think of it. Yep. Someone play the music. Yes. With those alternates, the savings would be $1,123,100.
And just to be clear on that one, we'll get you a new total. So we did the deducts of those 3 items, we added the greenhouse, and then we obviously added what we talked about here. That's the number he's giving you. So
Go to the budget. That's with learning stairs, basically.
that, yes,
And concrete on it.
yes.
Yeah, I have that number. Still have it. I did that so this is the savings, now you gotta take out, what was the greenhouse expense?
Did not select the deduct for learning.
40,000.
Correct, I got that. I just heard that includes the curb, and I got it right.
So I just wanted to clarify my.
Sure, so that
That's
takes,
1.3,
that,
then there was
that
another
savings,
thing,
and we will
224.
update the math on this to make sure we double checked it. That takes that bid number of 56,157. To 55,033,900.
So you're saving about $1 million.
Ultimately, we take that bottom line, everything down by
About $1 million.
1,123,100, and everyone is flexible to check my math.
But that bottom
Again,
line would
rerun
go
this
up.
number, get this back out.
That bottom line would go up with those two items, with the greenhouse, because it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so in total cost, you're talking about going from 67,642 to approximately 66,500,000. I gotta say approximate because the soft costs are out.
But that is greenhouse.
We're talking about
And
66.
that other, okay, so I'm confused.
I ask my fellow board members, why do we need to cut all these things out? Like, what is your rationale? Came in under budget on things, what are we looking at? What's the rationale for cutting these 10 items out of the budget that you came in underneath? What's your reasoning behind that? Far away.
And mine is, I mean, fiscally responsible as much as possible, and if you're gonna have change orders, you're going to have things come up. So, the more we can save now, just the better off we are. I mean, in our daily budget, who doesn't try to save where they can? So,
It's a 50-year decision you're making here. You can't go back and raise roofs and do a lot of these things. It's a one and done, so I'm voting for everything plus the greenhouse, and I think that's what we asked the administration to do, and save some money and do some things, so.
you know, I mean, we did ask them to come back with options, and they did. And that's where we got the consensus of trying to save where we can. So, that's my reason.
Your kids aren't here, so. But,
That's the everyday taxpayer.
Yes, it does.
We're looking at this isn't the end of it. We have the SLC to deal with. So, from you spend more money. See where we can.
I would say I've supported the project from the start, but along the way, the board, I think what I was looking to follow through on today was what the board had instructed previously. Whether it be votes against or votes to pay additional costs to try to find savings, which seemed to be a pretty clear directive. So that's what I was coming in here, was to make sure that we have a project that we can move forward with. I also do think it is a little bit important that the actions that were taken by the board was to pay $450,000 to find savings with the intention of finding savings, and it's put us in a position where in some ways we would try and find $450,000 savings to cover the costs of what was elected to be added services. So to me, it's just been all along the way we've stepped through, and the decisions that have been made that got us to this point. I'm ultimately for seeing this renovation get done. That's what my vote has been all along.
My question with the windows is there any educational impact? Take the window heat off. Does that prevent teachers from instructing in the classrooms? We're adding daylight in the commons area and lots of other spaces. We're not reducing the amount of daylight that the classrooms are gonna get. So are we going to hinder delivering education by taking the credit for the windows? That's a simple question.
I don't think you affect the academic education. I think you affect the educational environment. It's an opportunity to make the environment better. Not taking the veto to your point doesn't make things worse. But it's an opportunity to make it better.
from a, like procedurally with, doing it, the intent, to proceed, do we have to notify on, next Tuesday of all the deducts that the board has come to a unanimous consent on? Or can you do notice to proceed, or what procedurally, what do you need from us?
The board would have to award, base, bids, and alternates, so that we go to contract. And you would do that also with the satisfaction that the request earlier that you're in compliance with Act 34 has been received. So that's what we would get to you for your consideration.
I would still review them for the cost savings, because that's what we decided back in September. When we spent the money to look at cost savings, the ones that had the least impact to delivering education. I would still move forward. I'd like to see what the Act 34 numbers are, but we can see how close we are, but, I guess I'm pleasantly surprised that the conversation is about how do we move the project forward, so that if we take anything away from this tonight, that's a huge takeaway from this board and this 2-year process that we've gone through. So I just thank the board members for continuing to support this.
Everybody good with just kind of what we came up with? Michael? Looking forward?
I was gonna say something about the cost reductions. I'm not a civics engineer or, familiar with the technical aspects of engineering and building, but I think it's a good point, Jerry, it's a 50-year decision. But I think, the other side of the limiting cost, can add value to things in a way, because we're spending what we should spend. There's the country that we're part of right now has spent illicitly for quite a while, and we're gonna be, whatever downside effects of that. So if we take it as a maxim, that it's wise for the country to reduce its spending where it can, if that's a maxim, and we're in the local entity of government, then I think it's our obligation to do the same. Unless a country can spend its money unwisely ad infinitum, or a school district can do that up to the limit of fiscal sanity and still be okay. So from an overall standpoint, I'm not talking, individual buildings and, rooms and that sort of thing. But I think it's wise to not go into town every Friday night if you don't have money. So, and I think our country will try to do that, and I know school districts probably will try to go big, and they may find that they have to trim the sales. That would be my opinion.
I really appreciate everyone's comments. Thank you for being very engaged in this process. I just want to, one last time, tell you where we're at, what I'm envisioning being on the agenda next week. That is to approve these contracts to move forward. Total cost will be that $66.5 million that Jamie just mentioned. That is deleting items 2, 5, and 6, adding 11 greenhouse, and then there's other easy items that Jamie went through. So that is the understanding of the administration and what we will task our design team to move forward with for approval next week. Thank you, Jason. We'll check our math. We'll get those updated numbers to you as early as we can tomorrow, so that you have them for next week. Josh Price will be here at the meeting with you next week. Couldn't make it tonight, and I can't make it next week, so we'll be on the same way. Appreciate your help. quick, I just wanna make sure what I said is what everybody's basically agreeing to, so I'll put this up on the agenda. Overall, sounds good?
It sounded good to me.
Other G is to authorize the business manager to seek bids. Other H is to approve the contract with PSBA that we discussed with Fred.
What was that amount?
It was less than that. Discussion item, fixed fees for Rosen Schrader for design of the SLC project.
This is an absolute no for me. The reason being, I want to get through this middle school project, renovation project first. I don't think there's a hurry to move on with this. I think we should have some other bids on that. And you have 3 new board members and a new superintendent coming on. I think those people need to be involved in the direction that the SLC goes. And again, I don't think we should be talking about this time. I think we said a couple months ago that the SLC project was on hold till further notice. So I don't think we've done anything to move that program forward right now. So I don't think we should be discussing this now.
I think the idea was we would wait for bids to come back and then decide what we wanted to do, so with all due respect, I think that's why this is on the agenda, so. You wanna?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally understand if this wants to be tabled for the time being, but it was, so I basically agree with what was said. It was, let's focus on the middle school, let's get, the project, figured out, approved. Then it was to move forward with the SLC, but, again, if this is an item that needs to be tabled for now, I totally understand that, but the administration is obviously ready to go, and I agree, turnover happened, but, we clearly want to keep the ball moving forward whenever the board's ready. That's the only reason I voted on it. I didn't know if it was time or not, that's all.
I'm not happy with Schrader having that detention pond over there at Northern Elementary. Nothing's been done with that. That's an attractive nuisance. There's water in that over there. There should be a fence around it. I was told we were gonna have that, not have that there, and it's there. We've lost parking space. We've lost for baseball and back to school nights. I think that was a huge mistake made by them, and I'm not happy with that decision.
Can you just speak to the difference between the flat fee percentage, just kind of as a recap?
Yeah, so the last time, I believe when David Schrader was here, it was asked that, because we didn't know what the total cost was, kind of, we just have high schematics at this point, we don't have detailed design. The board had asked to bring a flat fee item instead of a percentage, contract, so, that's what David had done. And that's what, is before you here as well. Obviously, I can't give you the percentage because it's gonna be dependent upon what the actual costs are, but, yeah, that's what, the board had asked to do, and so that's what this contract is representing, and, we can, of course, talk about that another time.
Does anybody think, since we do have some time here on this, we're not rushed with the SLC, that we should get at least 1 or 2 more bids from other folks?
I agree 100%.
All right, I would say I do think we need to keep moving with the SRC because this thing's been punted for forever. I'm open to other providers. We talked about some of the middle school stuff, being a little bit of an evaluation here, and even with the alternates, they didn't quite pan out to the level which was projected to provide savings to us. That's one of them was opposed, and we paid a change order to have documents altered to reduce cost, but it was in fact additional cost to do it, so I'm open to consider others, but I think we need to keep the discussion moving with the SLC. So if there's interest in looking at providers, I think we should be moving on. I don't think we should be just saying.
I think we should take the extra time to look at, as John mentioned, about the providers too.
I don't think we should sit on it, I think we should move forward, but we're open to all these firms.
What you guys are suggesting is we send an RFP out for architectural services for design for a sports event.
I want to see what the scope of the work is. I think, you have, again, 3 new board members coming in, and what we've done with the middle school, I think we need to just take a really hard look and see what we're gonna bid, what we're gonna do. I mean, I want specifics of what's gonna go on over there. And you have 3 new board members coming on here. I don't want to saddle them with decisions that I make. I think they need to have the opportunity to have input as well as a new superintendent.
So are you proposing waiting until the new year?
You can start looking at, what you want to have over there, and what it entails. Making sure we're getting what we want. And I think that's something that a new superintendent could help us with.
Wait until at least June.
Yep, at least, yep.
We'll be sending an RFP out next month, in April, and we would most likely give them 60 days to put a term on it as far as how long until you accept it.
What do you want to do? Do we want to keep the gym? Do we want to knock this place down? I think that's my question, is what are we going to do over here? Are we all in consensus that we have a plan we want to follow?
Yeah, I think it's pretty well established that it needs to be demolished, the front end, and build new over there, so, I'm just trying to keep the board moving and not taking any action for 4 months or 6 months probably isn't the most prudent thing, but if the board wants to look at other providers of architectural services, we ought to extend the ability for Schrader to also provide their design or their look at this, and you're gonna consider other people, but that needs to be a formal RFP that needs to come. So,
Did Schrader already, correct me if I'm wrong, they've already done some of the design and what it would look like?
Yeah, as part of this overall buildings projects, for us to make decisions for our capital plan, middle school plan, SLC plan, they've done quite a bit of free work for the SLC. We have a schematic design for the SLC. You don't get that for free. We did. If we want a different schematic design, we're gonna have to enter a contract with another architect to give us a schematic, to work with us on a schematic design. We need the contract first. We were fortunate that Schrader was willing to do a lot of this work to move the middle school forward, and I shouldn't say the middle school, our full capital plan forward. Gratis. We have not been charged for any SLC work, and I can pull up the slides that we've done with them. We've had several meetings about schematics for the SLC. So I think if we're gonna look to get other ideas, then I would agree with Greg. I think we'll have to do a full RFP. We'll have to tell everyone what we're looking for, pick a firm, sign a contract, get him in here to start. If it's not our current architect, get him in here to start over. So that's not a decision we need today. I'm fine. We table this. That's fine. We can give this some thought. I can look at writing up an RFP. I don't necessarily need an answer today on that. I hear there's difference of opinions, and I totally understand that. So if we need to talk about this as a discussion item in future months, I'm okay with that.
I think if consensus is going to keep it moving, I think keep it
it's come up a couple times, so I'm not just trying to move things forward. I want to see us continue to move forward. The building's had fence around it for 3 years now. It needs to be addressed. I think there's a way that all this can continue to move forward, taking into account what new personnel or board members there may be, so that, you know, critical decisions aren't made, but I don't want to wait to do it. So I think, you know, this matter is, Greg said, an RFP, and there's a period of time that has to be associated with that. There's a new superintendent coming in, when that team's getting selected, and you keep things moving forward, and decisions can be made as we move forward. I just don't want to see it wait, because that's what we've been doing for years.
I would agree with that. I would think there's a way to proceed wisely without cutting off all your exits on the way to the destination. So I would say continue moving forward and consider other options possibly. You know, if they call prior to people not being able to at least proceed down the highway. Some information on it.
We can, I'm not unhappy, so, but if that's what we want to do.
Sounds like the majority of the board wants to look at other options, but I would just say that, you know, we have an architect that has already provided an option, so most of their work is done, so please don't discount that. You know, we look at other firms. Definitely another option.
If you're not Jason, or do you need?
Yeah, we'll just strike this item for now. Thank you.
Second discussion item, real estate tax partial refund.
We had an issue with the taxpayer that unfortunately her tax bill went delinquent. It was an interim tax bill. I won't get into a lot of the details, but they are requesting a refund of the difference between the penalty portion and the discount portion, so they'd still be paying the real estate tax bill. This did go delinquent. Received a notice from the county that needed to be paid ASAP, and a lot of issues between talking to the county, the delinquent tax bureau, to have this figured out. So they requested the district look to refund just that portion between the delinquent amount and the penalty amount and the discount.
District, the county requested that?
No, the taxpayer.
The taxpayer.
Yes, the taxpayer would be paying the delinquent taxes to the county through the process to get them off that roll. And then we would be issuing a refund of just that portion of, it's a few $100s. I don't want somebody to have it in front of me. I can give you the exact dollar amount. But the difference between the discount portion and the penalty portion. So I did talk to this individual. I think it's a very valid request. An issue that occurred was unfortunate. We don't get these very, very often, but I do think this was a bit extenuating. And I did have some emails with the tax collector as well.
Okay, refunding it.
Yeah, I would recommend that we do. I did put that on, have the refund item. It's like we had every couple months, just a real estate tax refund. So I'll stick it on there, but I wanted to have it more of a discussion. It's not coming from the county, it's coming from the taxpayer.
All right, athletics and activities, Mr. Schwilling.
There's 2 items under athletics and activities and transportation. Approve the foreign exchange student from Poland and approve the music trip to Disney at no cost to the district. That's it.
Balls.
Yeah, sure, thanks, Mr. Miller. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the three policies before you are unchanged from their February tentative version. We have policy 30, security of computerized personal information breach notification systems. That's based on Act 151 of 2023. We have board policy 819, suicide awareness, prevention, and response. Mr. Burrell and I worked on that one. And then the final policy for final approval this month would be board policy 109, resource materials. And as a reminder, for that policy, we added the term classroom library books to the definition of resource materials. And then we also added a new definition of library materials to the policy. That would be my summary, Mr. Miller. I'll toss it back over to you.
So one thing I wanted to discuss on the policy 109, Mr. Mickey did a great job making some changes to various forms. One thing I would like to see though is the changes that were made to the selection and maintenance of the library materials. I'd like to see if we could put them into the actual policy. And my reason for that is that current administrative guidelines can be changed without the board being notified really any time. Some are public, some are not public. I feel something that we've put so much time into crafting something that I think is good going forward. I would hate to see that, years to come be changed without anybody knowing. I think something that is this important should be taken the time to have a first, second read, be put into a policy that just can't be changed without anybody knowing about it down the road. Because I think that's my only request. I think everything else, the different changes in the forms are great. I would just ask the board to see if they consider making that shift from administrative guidelines to policy.
So just to clarify, Mr. Miller, you're asking for administrative guideline 109-2, which is the selection of the library materials to be included in school policy 109.
I'm just asking for the additional pieces, basically put a couple paragraphs, like if you don't have the handout here, but if you pull up the selection and maintenance of library materials,
Yes.
the highlighted.
Yes, there are two highlighted paragraphs in
Yes.
109-2. You'd like to see them move into policy 109.
That's correct.
Would you like to see them also remain in 109-2?
Kind of indifferent to that. My main thing was being moved to the policy.
My suggestion to the board, if I could, would be that we're going to follow that, whether it's in guideline or policy. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't move that into school board policy 109 per Mr. Miller's request.
You guys are good with it, I think. It also helps some clarity. Policy speaks to guidelines, guidelines speaks to policy, so I like it.
We'll make those changes and we'll present them to the board next Tuesday for final approval.
Should get that in.
I did want to draw the board's attention, if I could, Mr. Miller, while we're at it, to the two documents that I laid before you. One is 109-3, which is a reconsideration of library materials. Mr. Kirkpatrick had emailed these out before. Last time we met at the board meeting, there was an excellent discussion with the public. And as I was sitting thinking, do we have everything aligned here, it occurred to me that perhaps the actual form that's on the back of 109-3 was not now aligned to the new policy, in that, first of all, we were asking our principal to make decisions, but we weren't asking the principal to record the decisions. So instead of the form being a review committee questionnaire, it would now be a principal/review committee questionnaire so that principals could record their decisions for us. And the second changes were to do with some questions that talked about the value and the purpose and the understanding of the material. And with the new policy does not ask us to make judgments on the purpose and the understanding and the value of the material. It merely asks us whether or not the material contains sexual conduct or implied sexual conduct as defined in 18 PACS 5903. So that form is now simplified merely to reflect that discussion. So that has helped us move the process along because we are now not asked to consider the book in its entirety, just the parts of the book that are objectionable. So I just wanted to talk through that, although that's already been previously shared with the board. Yep, okay. And then the second document that I gave you, the new guidelines would make it necessary for us to report to the school board if there had been any book challenges and what the outcome of those challenges had been. So I've been working with the principals at the secondary level mainly, and also Mr. Kirkpatrick on constructing a form which we hope is readable for the board. So you can see that there are columns. I'll just go across it. Date received means the date that we received the reconsideration request. Board notified, that would be monthly. We will be notifying the board if we received any. And right now you can see until March 25 because this is the first time you've seen the report. The school where the material was housed is the next column. The title of the book, then a status as to where we are currently in the decision-making process, whether the reconsideration is open or closed, and the date that the board was notified of the outcome. We are very much open to suggestions if the board would like to see that presented in a different format. That's our best first draft of what that might look like coming to the board. We were trying to be open, transparent, and descriptive.
I think it's great. Can't think of anything else that should be added. Everything needs to be there. Nothing more. Yeah, I like it. I appreciate your work on this.
You have input from any other board members?
But I just think I know you guys put a lot of time into forms and rewriting and this, and you guys did a great job. I appreciate it. Well thought out.
Thank you. The question for the board that I would like guidance on is going forward, would you like this report to be attached to the assistant superintendent's report on a monthly basis? Would you like it somewhere else? Should we post this list on the website in the name of transparency so that it's open to the public?
That'd be fine with the superintendent's report.
I don't know that necessarily needs posted on the website because it's already been taken care of in-house. So yeah, I'm fine with superintendent's report.
You said assistant. Assistant.
You're going to change it 4 months ago.
One of those things you gotta do.
then there'll be one final question, Mr. Miller, that we don't need an answer to tonight, but the board should consider. We've had our first case where we've made a decision to retain material, and when we've been reporting that to the folks that have made the reconsideration, they've been accepted, like, okay, thanks for looking at it, which we greatly appreciate. But we do now have one material where the person said, I don't agree with you. So when we move to this new policy, that's at the point where it will come back to the board for the board to look at the approval. So we will need from the board what you would like that approval of the
Process.
yeah, the process appeal, that's what I was looking for. The appeal to the board, what the board would like that process to be, because I don't think it's appropriate for us to direct to the board what their appeal process would be. So that's for consideration. Thank you. That's the information I had connected to one of those.
We have discussion items, item 9 updates. A couple of months ago, the board had tasked me to provide an update on Title IX from last spring. Things have changed, obviously. The political landscape has changed a bit, impacting in terms of Title IX and other federal regulation. So that update was tabled in February. And we have 2 law firms that we've been working with regarding issues around Title IX and associated policies. We have our solicitor, Stock and Leader. We have our legal counsel, Independence Law Center, who we retained as well. So we have 2 law firms providing their legal opinions. Now the documents from that when we first talked about this update, you've had those update documents from Stock and Leader and ILC since mid-February. And what those documents were basically a memo identifying what their Title IX updates were from their respective firms. And I would say, if you did spend any time on those documents, you probably came to a pretty quick conclusion that the firms take a markedly different view on the Title IX issues. In fact, they're almost a study in contrasts. So what I've given you, in addition to their literal memos and a summary of their memos, you may recall from looking through those documents. And I believe I provided you a table as well, which was basically set up to identify what the positions of each of the firms are. I've taken that table and just taken it one more level and identified kind of the key questions as we consider what those key issues are. And then we have the ILC position and the S&L position on those key issues. So the 6 key issues that were addressed in the updates provided by each firm were on the left-hand side of the table. You see the scope of the executive order that was sent out. Bathroom and locker room policies is the second one. Definition of sex, Pennsylvania law interpretation, legal precedent, and future policy changes. So let's just take a look at the first one, for example, the scope of executive order. The ILC's position on that issue is that the executive order mandates federal enforcement of sex-based protections and restricts policies based on gender identity. The S&L position is the executive order only applies to federal law and policy, not state laws like the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act. So that begs the question, how do we balance the federal directives with Pennsylvania state laws and regulations based on those 2 conditions? So the document continues in that fashion. You see each of those positions articulated, summarized, if you will, and then the questions that underlie those. So that would be the basis for a discussion to the extent this board wants to have that, or now, or take this document, take a look at it, and have a discussion from this, or whatever other direction the board advises. That's where we're at now. We're at the position where there's a Title IX update provided as requested. So, would you like to have that further discussion now, working through some of these questions, or do something otherwise?
I think it's prudent to talk about it for a moment. Before they're getting that. I mean, we've been talking about this for close to a little less than a year. If I remember correctly, we voted to kind of proceed with some variation of the policy, and then kind of pump the brakes with President Biden's change with Title IX back in April and May. It's kind of evident that this is two contrasting paths both firms are going to continue to take every time we ask their opinion. I do think it's interesting with Stock and Leader, where with Biden's change, we were told that you could lose funding, could be personally liable, all that stuff. We have a president on the other side of the aisle that's made a change to Title IX, and now we're not talking about that. Now we're talking about Pennsylvania relations law. So I don't think you're ever going to see a scenario where Stock and Leader is going to support the policy that I feel the majority of taxpayers want in this district. I think they're always going to, if the Pennsylvania Human Relations changes their stance, there's going to be another branch that we're going to be told that we need to listen to. I think if we take the same mindset that we took back in April and May, that we need to worry about what Title IX changes and try to mirror policies based on that, I think it's just pretty clear what the current administration's changes are saying, and I don't think that, in my opinion, there should be any fear of proceeding with the policy that I know we met, April, May, and when the process started to implement, that was a policy that was reviewed by both firms, but blessed by Ed's Law Center. So I would like to discuss putting that on next month's agenda for first reading.
I'll speak to this a little bit. So, we just had an hour-long discussion on the $65 million school building, and there was talk of safety with steps and learning centers and windows and all valid. I think having a policy that strictly spells out, what we are looking to do in the district is valid. We were already there, and given the Title IX rules that came down, we as a board voted to pull that back. But given those, new mandates coming out, I think we're at a place where we can safely move forward with the policy, whether there's updated language or whatever it looks like. But I'm fine moving forward and having a version of that original or whatever it needs to look like on the agenda.
Yeah, I think the last administration's policies were actually in effect since August, so a 3 to 4 or 5 month policy change, which took effect for, in total, I guess, for about 5 months. And up till, that change to Title IX was about women's sports, women have equal opportunities, which that's what it was about. And it seems that the current administration is heading in that direction. short-lived policy to supersede having an item for the state or for the country, just doesn't, doesn't seem like it carries the weight that it might have, 4, 5, 6 months ago. So I would be okay with considering a change and hearing the arguments pro and con. I think it's pretty evident that the current people want to take it back to Title IX as intended. And if it was a good policy then for women, girls, sports and education and opportunity, then I think it should be taken back to its original intent. That's my feeling. So,
Originally, then we look at 3 separate policies. Originally, we enacted 2.
Correct. Student records and athletics.
The third one was bathrooms.
Everybody
Everybody was in agreement to hold off
Well,
and wait.
we initially were going to proceed with it, and we were instructed to kind of hold off on it because of the Title IX change.
So, I guess I would say, to me, picking that back up would be having them come back in and kind of go with us again. As to what we did with the other one,
I think they kind of gave us their advice on the updates that Mr. Patrick gave us here last month?
That they gave us the updates, yes, they gave us the updated, the memos, updating their positions on Title IX. And I believe that the policy that you were referring to as far as bringing forward would be the ILC policy 253, which is sex-based distinction in multi-user privacy facilities.
Yeah, I believe. So make sure I get the title right.
Right. And while you're looking at that, if you don't mind, I'll just mention that, and Stock and Leader they had 2 different policies that they were actually numbered as policy 711, 711, use of facilities by students. I'm aware that ILC's policy 253 is slightly updated. There's not, I would say, substantive changes to it. They've added a little bit more clarity to if you're going to modify your building, if you're renovating, it speaks to using block walls and some other things like that. But that's, like I say, there's not a substantive change to what was brought in the last spring. And likewise, Stock and Leader stands by their previous policies as well. So they would say, when asked if they had any updates to their policy based on the Title IX changes, that they didn't have any. So that's for those 2 policies.
We would get the same variations as previous.
Yes. Yep.
So this is policy, this is 253 from January the 29th. The draft from January the 29th. That's the most recent one, is that correct?
I think that's
I'm looking at it here, there wasn't anything, since then.
I'd have to look. I don't have it in front of me to know, because I wouldn't prepare
Well,
to.
this was the most recent one we had.
I think that's it. That's correct, right, Matt? Mr. Widow?
Yeah, I believe the one that says January 29th, 2025 is the most recent ILC 253.
Thank you.
The one question I would ask that I would like to have answered is, in the grouping of information that we received last month, one of the items linked through to what the executive order was. And I believe the executive order was basically saying, stating to all federal departments, initiate the plan and guidance to make this happen. So I'd just like to know, has anybody at the federal in these departments reacted to that? Or, and or did I misread that? I'd just like to hear from both groups. Is there anything there that was in the executive order that we're supposed to be asking someone? And where's our defined rules?
I don't know if that's addressed, is it answering the seventh item on the table, does that speak to your question, John? Where ILC, in terms of future policy changes, suggests schools should immediately roll back policies based on previous Title IX guidance and adhere to the biological sex-based policies, whereas SNL recommends schools wait for additional federal guidance before making changes, as no immediate enforcement changes have occurred. So that's the two positions.
I guess what I was asking is, did I read that correctly, that the executive order said, I'm directing you to all departments to initiate plans to execute this?
I believe so.
Like, is that what it says? And I thought there was some sort of timeline with that, so I just want to know, has anybody at the federal departmental level, way above us, followed through on the direction from the executive branch to come up with a plan? I just want to know, has there been any?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's federal policy now. There are two sexes. That's it. They didn't define anything other than that. And plus that Congress, even in their own facilities that they have there, they have it separated now. As far as restroom facilities.
Yeah, I'm just asking from both of those firms. Is there any direction? I just read it as the direction is to all the departments to implement these plans. I just want to know, in our instance, has the Department of Education said anything? That's all I'm asking. I just want to know.
You mean Pennsylvania?
No, my understanding was, like, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I could have read this completely wrong, that's why I want the pros to provide the feedback on it. They may turn around and say, yeah, actually 2 weeks later, there was this document. I'd just like to know if it was followed up with more rules, what are they?
Yeah, there's no new law. Congress hasn't taken any legal action and directed anybody to do anything. There's a Trump executive order, which is fine, but I believe, like Mr. Gunning, it directed the departments, the federal departments, including the Department of Education, State, Defense, you name it, to implement this, but nobody's given us guidance on what that looks like. So,
well, I think the guidance is there's only two sexes, and I think, I mean, I don't know how more simpler it could be. I mean, I'm not exactly
well,
sure.
how do you, what guidance on implementation does that give us?
Well, to me, I feel it gives us, and this is even my only interpretation, maybe I'm even interpreting this way, but it gives me, further comfort in continuing on a policy that we were already going to start to implement under President Biden until he changed the Title IX. Now we have President Trump reversing the thing that changed that caused us to pump the brakes. So in my opinion, we're full circle to where we were back in April and May to continue to pick up and move this thing forward. I mean, I know we can, again, my one man's opinion, I think we can talk hypotheticals all night. And Stockton Leader could probably give us 5 more pages on why we shouldn't do it. And ILC can probably give us 10 more on why we should. I mean, I think it's to the point where I feel we need to make a decision to move this forward. And I think this is, it's always been a topic that I don't know that we're all gonna agree on, but I just feel that we've waited long enough to move forward on this.
So Pennsylvania State, the Department of Education has not told us to make any changes, correct? Like, we haven't got any guidance from the state of Pennsylvania.
Correct, no guidance.
That's correct.
Yeah, ultimately, I think my question is just pretty straightforward. I just want to know, did I read this right? And we could theoretically be calling somebody and say, hey, what, are we getting guidance? I don't think it changes whether we want to move forward with policy or not, evaluate what makes sense for Northern. I just simply want to know.
I think
Did I read it correctly, that
think
he's
the voters,
directing the federal departments to.
I think the voters have already made that decision. In Northern York County School District, a couple of years ago, that that decision has been made on there as far as what they want their school district to look like. And on the federal level, on there, in this past November, that decision has been made on there, just with the voters saying, we don't like the direction that the country's going, and we want to see these policies changed, and the current administration did not hide anything from the voters in 2024. They knew exactly what they were getting, and that is exactly what this current administration is delivering. So when they say there's only two sexes, that's the federal policy. Whether it's an executive order, which was what the previous administration was also an executive order, and we were supposed to abide by that, and now, since there's a new administration, we're not supposed to abide by it.
I'm not proposing we don't abide by anything. I just, if the way I read it was correct, there already may be directives from the Department of Education which tell us what to do, which would make this a lot easier. I just want to know, did I read that properly? I don't think it changes anything you said, Mr. Weir.
So is everyone okay with administration moving forward on the policy from January, but in the meantime, to John's point, getting those questions answered, because this isn't going to be voted on until next month anyway, which gives them time to create their answers.
And it may, if something's come out, it may make our lives a lot easier.
It would be helpful to have a law or further guidance to tell, for the federal government to tell the states, this is what you're going to implement. And the states to tell the school districts, this is what you're going to implement. Because you're making a lot of assumptions, and ILC is making a lot of assumptions. So,
Both are, I think, because we held back because of some of the guidance we got from SNL to, there's danger in movement, there's ice in the seawater. And I've heard that Americans with Disabilities Act, when the school is revamping and changing its design and building, they ask them to make updates, Americans with Disabilities Act. And so, time when we're going to be building something, it could be a very opportune time to update a policy because we're already going to be working on the buildings. So if bathrooms or something needs to be reconfigured or redone, there's an opportunity to do it while we're building, not in the midst of a time when we're not, and you have to go through and make changes that were unplanned for. So it could be an opportune time to look at it.
The only thing I'd clarify on that, Mr. Becker, is that both of the firms said, put the brakes on it at that
Yeah,
point.
that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but it was because, I think what Greg was referring to is because of an executive order, not because the governmental rule had changed, I guess, but an executive order had been in and then it went into effect. And I guess at some point, the one that the current administration has said will go into effect too if nothing hinders it from going into effect. So if the assumption was it's going to go into effect, so we can't do it, and this executive order is the assumption that it will go or won't go into effect. I don't think it's good for government to rule by executive order. It needs to be the will of the people, but we we seem to be in a place right now where one administration does and one doesn't, and the other disagrees and changes it 4 years later. I don't think that's wise for the public to do that, but I think it's okay if the people that are currently in power have some good ideas and are trying to implement them quickly. So.
Mr. Gundy, this is Matt, just to clarify, so we know what you'd like us to check on. I think it's section 7 of the January 24 says agency implementation and reporting within 120 days of this order. Each agency head shall submit an update and implementation plan to the president, to the director of so on and so forth. And the agencies that were required to do so were the state Homeland Security, the secretaries of state and Homeland Security, and the director of the Office of Personnel Management shall implement those changes. And so if in the executive order, those are the two agencies that were called out and given 120 days to come up with a plan, and that was January 20th. That would be, February, March, April, May. I guess they have till May 20th. I don't know, but I just want to make sure I know what we're looking into for you.
Yeah, that was what I read. I just want to know, does that mean anything to us? Do we not even fall underneath those departments you just referenced? As in, I read this and I thought, hey, great, finally, he's directing the departments to make some clear rules so that, school districts, as an example, also don't have to sit in a gray area.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And board operations, Mr. Weir.
We have one discussion item there. Whole Fair Foundation representative. We pick you.
Well, we're in a position where it's vacant, so,
Right.
it's an opportune time to just, it's just an opportune time to consider it, considering we're about to take on a new member, at least temporarily, so. Whether, that person would assume, this is an opportune time, I guess, for any board members that are interested, if they wanted to do that instead of something else they're doing, participate in that. Otherwise, it might make the most sense for our newest member to take that on if they're willing and able. So we can fill you in on that.
The person on the totem pole.
That's in the fine print.
I didn't see that in the contract.
Anybody want to change?
What does that involve? It depends.
The monthly meeting, you would attend and you report out on what's going on with the board of directors.
It's a lot of fundraising. All the events, are obviously district events, but I did that position for several years, and it's primarily raising money or helping raise money and helping execute events, that benefit the district. So, gala, play pigeon shoot, farmers fair, that kind of stuff. Golf tournament, It's not very time intensive, one meeting long.
Most of the benefit is mostly to the sports programs.
No,
Could be anything.
Yeah,
This could be
arts, yep, generally.
To try to spread it around.
Music.
All right.
Okay, well then, we'll have that conversation, this week. What's your name?
All right, we're gonna break off into, or I guess, any new business, sorry. Well, thanks for hanging with us. We have executive session for personnel, a late hour. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me join the vote.
Thank you, Matt. Take care.
That's why.
Hey, for anybody who's still tuning in with us, appreciate you tuning in, watching the
live stream of the Northern School Board meeting. We won't be doing post game tonight. We will be doing that in the next couple of days, probably next week sometime. So look for that. I am still feeling a little under the weather. I am getting better though, so I'll be back in full swing in about a week or so, I'm hoping. So that's when we'll have some analysis on some of these Northern School Board meetings, and we'll break down some of what's been going on and get a little bit more in depth and get any of our viewers caught up on what's been happening, so that way they can decipher all this information. A 4-hour meeting is on the long side, so I am going to make some inquiries about if these normally go this long. Northerns seem to be on the longer side than the West Shore School District. So we're going to probably keep still live streaming these, but after 4 hours, it's unlikely we'll be doing post games right after the meeting. We'll end up having to do them a day or two later. So stay tuned for the Boiling Point podcast. Check out the storefront, bonfire.com/store/Boiling Point podcast. Please hit that like button, hit that reaction button, share it out, subscribe to us, and if you want, leave us a comment. Until next time, this has been the Boiling Point podcast, and I am your host, JD, and that's the end.